right, everybody, here we go. Today is Friday, July 3rd, 2026. My name is Rob Carter. Welcome to the future. Number one, radio/broadcast in America. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Isaiah, what's cooking? Are you still working back there? I see. Not even paying attention. Look at him.
Oh, there we go. I'm muted. I'm trying to talk and write at the same time. Here we go.
You're working so feverishly, you didn't even recognize that we had started the show. All right. Today, well, we got it first.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, tomorrow is July 4th, America 250. Everybody's going to be out being very excited about the 250th anniversary of our freedom. And that's what we're going to talk about today, just a little bit. I think patriots have to recognize that you have to fight for freedom all along the way. You can't just celebrate and then sit back and allow your country to disappear right before your very eyes. We got to start, Isaiah. I sent you an email. I didn't realize this was happening. I just got a message from Mike Compton. You know, Mike Compton comes on every Thursday with Amy Castro. It's Act 4 Missouri.
Yeah, I had no idea either.
He's got a new book out.
He's too humble.
He didn't even want to mention it to us, but we got to give you a picture of his new book because it really is. It's perfect timing. It's exactly what our show is about. People give us trouble all the time because we're not cheerleaders for the Republican Party. We are naysayers to some of the things they try to get accomplished. They think we are black-pilled. They think that we are this, that, and the other. None of it's true. We're very optimistic people, but we say here on this show that it is our duty to make sure that we have a great country. It's not somebody else's duty. It's not Donald Trump's duty. It's not the Republican Party's duty. It's not the military's duty. It is our duty as citizens to make sure that we keep our republic. And here comes Mike Compton with his book, Keeping the Republic, A Citizen's Guide for the Next 250 Years. Congratulations to Mike Compton. I love the cover. It looks fantastic. But I agree wholeheartedly with where he's at. And I didn't for the longest time, Isaiah. I must admit, I did not see it through that lens. I was on cruise control. I really believe that I just lived in this great country and that I didn't have to do anything except have my feet on the soil of America and everything would be fine. And the closer I get to politics and the closer I get to these big corporations, the closer I get to understanding how the world works and what's going on, the more I recognize that it is our duty. Isaiah's, mine, yours out there in the audience. It's everybody's duty to make sure that we remain free, because if you let governments and corporations and big entities band together, they will ultimately try to use you. They'll make you the customer and they will take away your freedoms and liberties, and they'll do it right underneath your nose if you're not paying attention. And I think that's what's been going on for a long time. Time to wake up.
Very excited to read it. Mike would love a signed copy.
I want a signed copy too.
We need some signed copies. And if you want the book, it's keepingtherepublicbook.com. If you're watching, you can see right there. It's scrolling on the bottom, www.keepingtherepublicbook.com.
And I think they're on Amazon too. If Mike's listening, he might want to chime in, but I think they are. He's selling them on Amazon as well. So just a great, I think it's fantastic, but memorialize your life and get that out there into the world. I'll have a copy. I'll get a signed copy for Mike Compton. We'll promote his book from now until forever because I absolutely adore what they do at Act 4 Missouri. And I just think that this is the way forward. We have to convince people. We have to teach it in our schools. I got to remind everybody. This is the one, because we're going to talk about Israel a little bit because that's one of the narratives that we have to talk about. But one of the things that bothers me greatly is the law in Missouri that says if you do not sign if you don't sign an affidavit, basically, that you won't boycott Israel, you can't do business with the state of Missouri. Well, I don't want to do business with Israel, Isaiah.
How do we know that there's something in the future? I mean, even right now, I'm saying, but maybe the Gaza war doesn't, bother you, right?
Yes.
But maybe there's something in 10 years that you don't know about that Israel does that you're going to want to boycott, but you signed this loyalty pledge now.
Well, I want to boycott already. So even if you don't,
that's what I'm saying is that we might be in that place, but let's say you're not, right?
But I want to send a message, Isaiah. I want to send not to the Israeli people, but I want to send a message to Israel that I, Rob Carter, as an American citizen, just one person, I don't agree with what you're doing over there. I don't agree with the way you're conducting war. I don't like it, and I don't want to be a part of it. That's fair, right? I'm an American citizen. Even if I'm wrong, I have the right to be wrong as an American citizen. I don't want to do business with Israel, and I'm forced to do business with Israel if I want to do business with Missouri. And here's what I want to do in Missouri. Ultimately, we'll be back in Missouri. My wife have talked about it. It's a matter of when, not if. And when we come back to Missouri, I'm going to petition the Missouri government to change the education system in Missouri. The Missouri education, first and foremost, should teach people how to stay free. That should be the duty of the educational system in a constitutional republic, is for us as well, not even us, as a society and as an educational system to teach people how your government works, what Mike Compton's trying to do, what your duty is to keep this country free, really free, with freedom and liberty, where our amendments are protected, where the Constitution means something. That has to be taught in our schools, and it's not. It wasn't taught in schools when I was there, and I don't think it's taught now. So you have a generation that doesn't think that they have any sway or anything to say about their own government. They're just like, well, what are you going to do? What can you do?
Yeah.
Can't really do anything.
We're taught that Rosa Parks, she's this persecuted black woman who was standing up for her rights, and that it was just she just happened to be there, and just those are the stories that we learn in school, Rob.
Everything is a bunch of BS that we
Yeah.
learn for the most part. It is crafted. It is to create perceptions, and then you don't question them because they're taught in school, right? When you're 8 years old and they're teaching you about American history, you don't have the wherewithal to go, wait a minute, that doesn't really make any sense. What about this, this, and that? You don't.
Mhm.
So it just it sinks down into your subconscious, and all the things that you think you know are realities for you. It doesn't mean they are realities, but they're realities for you. And off to the races we go.
Yeah,
So
we learned that Lee Harvey Oswald, he killed JFK.
and acted alone.
Yes. Sole gunman.
Acted alone. You just don't understand. All right, like and share, everybody. Like and share. We're at that point in the show. Please, please, please help us out. Like and share. We're starting to make moves on the show. I'll be working on just for people that have been around from the beginning, the loyal listeners. I know it's been more difficult some for for people that were just catching on to the show. It's a little harder to find now. You got to go find us versus maybe it's scrolling through your feed unless you're a daily listener. But we're making additions to the show. We're going to create a pre-roll. So right now, when we about 10 minutes before the show, Isaiah puts down a clock and it says, "Okay, the show starts in 10 minutes," and it's got the music playing behind it. Shortly, we're going to put a pre-roll together. It'll show interviews that we've had in the past, commentary that I've made in the past, commentary that Isaiah has made in the past, and we'll pre-roll it so that when people pop on, they're going to get a live picture. They'll have some commentary, maybe shows they've missed in the past or commentary that we think is important that they may not have heard. We'll get that pre-roll out there. So you'll see a pre-roll. You'll actually have a show 10, 15, 20 minutes before the show starts, and then we'll go right into the show. So the production level will begin to go up. That's number one. Number two, Isaiah and I are going to make frequent trips to. Are we going to be able to talk to Massey? Are we going to be able to put that together? I think we're going to get an interview with Thomas Massey in his office. Yeah, the next time we come in. I know they were communicating with us. We'll talk to the Missouri representatives out there.
I think once we have a date and we're saying, hey, we're going to be there on this date, I think that's going to be a lot easier for us to not only reach out to his team, but to all the other chiefs of staffs who's gave you their cards. Right. I think it'll be like, hey, we're going to be there on these dates. We'd love to talk to the congressmen. Are they available? And some will be, and I know some won't be, but
yeah, we're going to get.
That's why we got to keep going back there, right?
Yeah, we're going to get. We're going to start asking the right questions. As I said before, the thing that we ultimately want to do, Isaiah and I both, and we've talked about this with many different people. You got to get your show to where it needs to be before you can really start to ask for these things. But ultimately, what we're going to do is change the face of journalism. It's gone. I'm no expert in journalism, but I understand the premise of it. The premise of journalism is to put pressure on power to make sure that they don't take your God-given rights away. That is the entire purpose of journalism. It is to get the truth out there. So when you have institutions that are supposedly giving you the truth that no longer give you the truth, they're lies. The Democrat Republican paradigm is a lie. The conservative liberal paradigm is a lie. COVID was a lie. I could go on and on. There's 100 of them. It's just not telling the USS Liberty story is a lie. Not letting Jeffrey Winehouse out of prison is a lie. This is what's going on in our country because we don't have journalism anymore. Journalism is the cornerstone to keeping your freedom because that is the First Amendment. It's the First Amendment because it's what keeps you free. As Charlie Kirk said, when we stop asking questions, we stop being free. Isn't that what Charlie Kirk said? And then they killed him.
Yep.
And then they killed him. I mean, it's just unbelievable what goes on in this country. But you got to be brave. Journalists are always brave. How many journalists died over there in Israel? 220 something journalists were perished trying to cover the story between Israel and Gaza. 220 journalists that risked their lives to get the truth out to you, all perished. It's a big deal. And what we need is a citizen journalism army that understands what questions to ask. When we were talking to Mike Compton and Amy Castro yesterday, they went through their website and they said, okay, here are the candidates. And they said, here's the questions we should be asking. That's all you need to do. You need to understand what is happening in your country. You need to recognize that you're getting the wool pulled over your eyes. And then all of a sudden, when you start asking the right questions and everybody starts asking the right questions, then the masses will begin to see that there's no answer to those questions. There's no answer to why did you pass the Smith Modernization Act? There's no answer to that. Why would the government under Barack Obama and the Republicans, you have to understand that's how it went down with Barack Obama. It was in alignment with the Republicans. How in the world do they pass legislation that allows them to propagandize the American people? How does that happen? And why is nobody talking about it? And why can't they answer that question? Do they even know that that happened? I would say some of these politicians don't even recognize that that went down. Question them about Israel, not question them. Where's your loyalty lie? Where's your loyalty lie? Show them videos of kids getting shot in the back of the head by Israeli soldiers, IDF, and go, what's going on here? Why am I giving my money for that? I don't approve of this. Do you approve of this? Then why don't you speak out against it? Right? Those are the questions that you have to ask in order to awaken the masses. The reason the masses never get woke is because the propaganda is so thick that they don't know up from down, left from right, top from bottom. They don't see it. They can't see it because their realities have been shaped for them. I don't want to get into it because everybody knows.
No, it's funny that it's, they'll freak out when that's happening from the Palestinians, right? When they are the ones indoctrinating their children and they're the ones saying
Exactly.
kill an Israeli or kill Israeli children, right? But then when it's flip-flopped and you're exposed on both sides, you're doing it, and it's like, oh wait, you're no better.
That's a great point.
And you might even some might even say you're worse, right? Because of the bullying and things like that, right?
Well, we have the power. That's what I say with people that are Israel. Well, Israel, whether you understand it or not, with the backing of the United States, well, they have the power. You're basically, it's David and Goliath over there, and we're putting our support behind David, or we're putting it behind Goliath. Which one, Isaiah? It's Goliath. We've got all our money behind Goliath, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you understand the territory in the area. I'm not getting into the biblical implications. I'm just talking about right from wrong, bombing kids and destroying buildings with hundreds of people in them to find one Hamas terrorist that you funded from the very beginning. Doesn't make a lot of common sense, yet it's sold to us every day on Fox News. Fox News.
And we already decided as the American people that we don't like that from 9/11 and going into Afghanistan and finding WMDs that weren't there. And, we already decided that we didn't like doing that stuff. Right.
Good morning, Debbie. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Donna. Good morning. We got a lot of good mornings to go on.
Oh, yeah. Lots of people.
Can't get through all those.
Mike was in here. He said, thanks for giving the shout out for the book.
Right on.
Yes, it is on Amazon. I can see you can buy it on, you can get an e-book copy or a physical copy on Amazon. So if you don't like physical copies, maybe you got one of those Kindle readers.
I can get the hard book.
I like hard books.
I like hardcovers myself. I like to keep them and let it.
Even my headlines, I print.
Right. I want hard book paper copies. I want an autograph on the inside of it, and that just I don't know what it is. It must be an old school thing where you want it in your hand. You can see all the books behind me. It's about 1/10 of the books that I have, and I just laid them out here because a lot of them are political books.
Yeah.
And it's funny, some of the books, I got Glenn Beck in here, I got Bill O'Reilly, and you can kind of see the reason I put them behind me. I got The Art of War right in there, right? So you read The Art of War, and everybody goes, Rob, Donald Trump's right. It's The Art of War. I'm like, well, I've read The Art of War, and I don't see it. What are you talking about? I don't see anything in The Art of War that says you're supposed to be an offensive military force. It doesn't say that in there anywhere. It doesn't say you're supposed to bomb everybody. Go, well, they were going to bomb us first, so we had to bomb them. It doesn't say anywhere in The Art of War that you bomb people because you tell your citizenry that they were going to bomb you first, and if they were going to bomb us first, then we have to bomb them into smithereens. There's nothing. It doesn't say that in The Art of War.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. It's interesting also that people. I was talking to my father-in-law, and he just watches Newsmax, and so he's like, "Well, we had to go into Iran because they had nuclear weapons," and I was like, "No, they didn't." And he goes, "Well, yes, they did." I said, "No, our inspector said that they didn't have nuclear weapons.
17 of them."
Yeah, I said, and then Israel told us that they did, and so we believed Israel, and that's why we went. And he goes, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, that's why people are not happy about Iran, is because they think we're fighting Israel's war. So that was interesting to me that people are still kind of if they're watching that mainstream media, they are just kind of, like you said, the lulled to sleep.
I was there, weren't you? We talked about this a little bit yesterday, Isaiah. That's why I can't get upset with people. I know you get upset with me because I'm kind of
and that's why I tried. I knew where he was at,
and
so I'm approaching it like, okay, I know it's going to be a little radical for him, so I gotta kind of ease him into this, right, to kind of help red pill him a little bit.
Isaiah, I talk to some of my friends at Grace Church. Every now and again, I'll be at Grace Church. And I was talking about the USS Liberty to a friend of mine that was at Grace Church not too long ago. Now, Grace Church to me is in line with anything Israel does. They think is a good thing, in my opinion. That's kind of how they lay it out there. They give little caveats every now and again,
They're
but
on the
that's kind of
geolocation map.
yeah, that's kind of where they're coming from. And I was telling this particular person about the USS Liberty attack, and I said, well, I just met with 15 79 to 85-year-old men who were on the USS Liberty, and each one of them says that Israel attacked them intentionally to draw them into a war. They actually don't know why they did it, but that's their assumption. But they said that under no circumstance should anybody be misled by believing that this was an accident, and they want that information out there in the public because now we are completely aligned with Bibi Netanyahu and Israel when they're saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this country bombed us intentionally. That needs to be known." If the American people recognize that our greatest ally in the world intentionally bombed a U.S. spy ship and killed 34 people, I thought the military cared about that, Isaiah. Wouldn't you think that the military would care that 34 soldiers perished when an ally, our greatest ally in the world, bombed that ship into submission?
Well,
Wouldn't
what
they
did the
care?
veterans people say? The Veterans Affairs officers, what did they say when we went in there?
What did they say, as a matter of fact? Not much, right?
No. Oh, yeah. Here's a card. You can call
Yeah,
someone else.
yeah, that's right. And it shows you that it's a cover up. It shows you, just the lack of interest
Yeah.
when, like I said, 15, 80-year-old men who want no compensation. So they're not coming out saying, "Hey, give us some money. This is what we went through. We want some money." They're saying, "We want no compensation. We just are American soldiers and sailors who know a portion of history that's been hid from the American people. And before we die, we want people to know that this is what's going on before we get in bed any further with Israel." And I think
That's
that
why Phil Turney wrote his books. That's what he told me.
right. I think Israel's a proxy for the United States and the British Crown. That's what I think is going on. And I think that we put a lot of emphasis on whether Israel is controlling America or America's controlling Israel. I would venture to say that it's a joint operation, that we want to create war in the Middle East. Israel is our proxy. We create war and then we take resources. That would be my guess. I mean, if you go to Ukraine, what's going on there? You have all the military contractors going in there. They're going to start rebuilding Ukraine and they're going to make a ton of money from Ukraine and they're going to take their resources and so forth and so on. You could say that about Libya. You could say that about Syria. You could say that about Qatar. You could say that about anywhere in the Middle East. War is created. The United States comes in there as the hero to fix it, to rebuild it, to take mineral resources, to make deals and so forth. And that seems to be the way the world works. It's just, I don't want it to work that way. I don't like that method of doing business, Isaiah. I don't think that you
Yeah.
should have to bomb your business partners into submission and then put your arm around them and go, "We're going to help you rebuild. Clinton Foundation's going to come in here. Don't worry about it. Lockheed Martin's going to come in. We're going to give you some weapons. We're going to take it." That is not a good scenario for me, if
Yeah.
you will, Isaiah. So can I speak out
Yeah.
against it? I want to go back to Mike Compton because I didn't finish that point. The reason I wanted to show Mike Compton's book is number one, I'm a fan of Mike Compton. I'm a fan of Act for Missouri. But you have to take care of your own business in order to stay free. So we're going to start there and before we get into Bitcoin, I want to start there. That is what our show is about. Our show is to prove to you over and over that corruption in this country has reached a boiling point. It's no longer, yeah, Rob, all business, all countries that are this big are going to have corruption. We understand that. We understand that corruption is going to be there. What we're talking about is institutionalized corruption with no end in sight and nobody putting safeguards on it. It's just out of control corruption. Let me start with where do I want to start, Isaiah? Let me start with clip number one. All right, let me just start here. We'll get to Bitcoin here in just a minute, but I want to let people start to join the show. It takes a little bit for people to start joining the show. John Stossel. You know who John Stossel is, Isaiah? John Stossel. Recognize
Sounds
that?
sounds familiar.
John Stossel, I think, he's been a reporter for a long, long time. He is the one that did the report on what I went through. Remember when I told you I got arrested at the airport for the gun in LaGuardia Airport?
Mhm.
Later on, most of the people that I work with and people in my family thought I was insane when I told that story because they didn't quite understand it. John Stossel did a report on that and said, this is a money-making scheme for the state of New York. Bring your gun in there. They arrest you. They get about $5,000-$10,000 from you, and they put you on your way. Right? It's just a scam. It's just a way to make money for Queens is where you go to jail. If you get arrested at the airport at LaGuardia, they take you to Queens jail. And he did a whole report on it. He does a lot of reports on things that most people don't even think about. This most recent one was on recycling your trash, Isaiah. And I wonder, and I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's a little bit lengthy, But I've been telling my wife is I told you my wife's a Girl Scout. Whatever the
Yep.
laws are, whatever the rules are, she's the yin to my yang. I'm the one who says, "Wait, these laws don't make any sense. I'm not gonna follow them. I'm sorry if they're not constitutional. I won't
Yep.
recognize them. I'm just not when people try to scam me with their tickets and their nonsense and their fees and their garbage, I don't play along. And
I know.
whatever the
I
repercussions
always
are,
ask, well,
we'll deal with it."
why do we have to do it this way? I was thinking about this the other day, Rob, is that, something that upsets my wife is sometimes I'll do something a little bit different than she would do it, right?
Yep.
And I get the task accomplished, right? And it's done, but I didn't do it in the exact way that she might do it.
Oh, yeah.
And that upsets her.
Yes.
And I remember being in the workplace and figuring things out and trying new things and maybe even figuring out how to do something better, right?
Mhm.
And it's like they don't want you to do that. They want you, no, 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 just follow our step-by-step process we gave you. Don't go out of the lines, stay inside the lines. I
Well,
just was I wasn't that kind of person
I'm the
ever.
same way. I'm the exact same way. In fact, when I was in business, I would say to people that worked with me and in many instances worked for me, I want you to get the most amount accomplished in the least amount of time.
Yeah.
I want you to look for ways to get the most accomplished in the least amount of time. Like when I'm gonna do something for PLMO, and I could go to each particular advertiser, business person that I'm associated with, friend, listener, and everything else, and go one by one and try to explain to them what I'm doing, which might even be more effective in the long term. But I looked at that and I go, I don't really have the time to sit on the phone for 2 and 3 hours with 100 people. I don't have it.
Mhm.
So what I wanna do is I'll get in front of them, I'll explain it, I'll bring in guests to, perpetuate my belief system, and they can all look at it. We'll be in the same room, they can ask me questions, and I can take 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours to get a point across, which would take me 100, and I just thought, "How can I get my message across to as many people as possible, but do it in a timely fashion?" And that's why I said on July 20th, we'll have some form of a meeting for PLMO, probably in St. Charles County. But it's a way for me to get my information out to a big group of people quickly. It's the first thing I thought of was how quickly can I do it? How can I be most effective in a quick manner? It's to be in person with a group of people and get the message out, right? That's just how my mind works with everything,
Mhm.
to your point. But I want to get to this recyclables because my wife is somebody who recycles and she's got the recyclable bin out in the garage, right? And she sees me throw the trash. If it's a recycle, she's got the 2 trash cans in the kitchen, one for recyclables, one for the trash. And I've been telling her for years, I said, "Honey, this is just nonsense. This is crazy.
Yeah.
The recyclables are the only recyclable that is beneficial most of the time is aluminum. And it's really all you're benefiting is the big corporations. They want you to recycle because this has become an industry, but you're not saving the planet. This is all just, and she doesn't believe me, right? I'm not an expert. The
Yeah.
experts tell me that we should recycle. I've been told since I was a kid I have to recycle, and I said, "Okay." But every time she's not looking, I just throw the trash in with a recycle. I don't care about any. It's actually
Do they make you, arrange the recycling in a
no, no,
certain
no,
manner?
no, no, no. I don't
Okay.
take cardboard.
That's what ours did.
Yeah,
So we switched trash companies, and with the old trash company, you could just throw the recycling in there, and then they would take it and separate it there, right?
exactly.
And then
Yeah.
they switched to this company, and they said, "Okay, yeah, you gotta have all the bottles like this, and you gotta have all the box." I said, "Yeah, I'm not doing that. We're not
I call it
recycling."
trash, you call it a business.
Yeah, we're not recycling anymore, sounds like.
Some people can recycle if it makes you feel good about life, go ahead and recycle.
Yeah.
I'm not giving people trouble that recycle, but I wanna play this from John Stossel because this gives you and we'll play it for just a little bit here. It'll give you an idea about recycling and what it really is all about, and I think it would blow people's mind if they really understood that it is now a business, right? I remember back when I was in college, I had a professor tell me, he said, "Rob, if you want to be good in a big corporation, if you want to climb the ladder, create work for yourself. Create work. If you can create something that has to be monitored weekly or monthly, and it's work, it just gets into the system and it becomes something that perpetuates itself." And I did that, Isaiah. I actually did that when I got into the shoe business. Just a really quick story about the shoe business. Back in the day when I first started in shoes,
And she said she even gave up after that nonsense. I told you. She's just
I
like
love
your
it.
wife, where
I
she
love
wants to follow the rules, but after
it. Yeah,
that, she said, "Alright, that's too far."
they will like each other. I
Oh,
real quick, and this the story about the shoe business. When I first got into the shoe business, I'm trying to, immediately I'm 24, 25 years old, trying to make a good impression. I have no thought process at that time to start moving into positions of anything. I just want to keep a
yeah. Mhm.
job for a little bit, right? Make a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
of money and stay in the game. But I had worked at Nordstrom's, right? So I had sold shoes at Nordstrom's. At the time when I started in the shoe business, Nordstrom's was the shining North Star in the shoe business. If you sold Nordstrom's, that is where great companies began their business. So you wanted to be on the sales floor at Nordstrom's. You wanted your shoes placed in Nordstrom's. I worked there. I understood that business inside and out. I worked at one of their top stores in the country, and I understood how Nordstrom's worked. So I went to people that worked at Bostonian Shoes, which was Clark Shoes at the time, and I said, "What you should because all of the information comes out by each store." I said, "Let me put the selling. I'll get the selling, and I'll put the selling by pattern on each floor by each location. That way, we'll have a clear understanding of what's going on within Nordstrom's because it's 100 and something stores, Isaiah,
Yeah, it's too
but
much.
there's no corporate information. You got to go store by store."
Yeah.
So I would collect the information store by store by store by store, and then get all of the SKUs, the individual shoes, and show people where shoes were selling, what was going on, so we could perfect how we sold shoes into Nordstrom's. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
That got me on the map right away in my company
Of course.
because it did work. I mean, it made the selling better because then we knew what to sell. We knew what
Yep.
shoes to take off the floor. We knew what looks
It's
were
more
working.
insights. Once
It
you have
was
better
more insight.
insights, yeah.
But I created work for myself. It gave me a profile in the company right away, and my profile within the shoe business started to grow within my company and then outside the company and so forth. Here
yeah.
is John Stossel talking about recyclables. Now it's a business, right? You're thinking you're saving the planet, and the recycle companies are making cash. They're not getting done what you do, all the separating the cans and the bottles and the cardboard, and you think, "Oh, that's fantastic. I'm gonna get the plastic over here. I'm gonna do this." John Stossel does a great report on what recycling means. This is institutional corruption right here. This is number 1 is recyclables, just one that was on my mind. Clip number 1. I hope my honey is watching.
Do you recycle?
For sure, absolutely.
Absolutely. Everything I possibly can.
For decades, we've been told.
Recycle America. Don't just throw it all away.
Because recycling will save the planet.
You're saving the earth.
And that's what people believe.
We have to do it for the kids, for the next generation.
This will all be back on the shelf as a cracker or cereal box in about 4 to 5 weeks.
This recycling company is run by Lynn Hoffman.
If we're not using recycled paper and cardboard, we're cutting down more trees.
Recycling paper and cardboard does save trees. Recycling aluminum does save energy. But most of the other stuff is impractical to recycle.
That's right.
This is material that came in to the recycling facility from people's recycling carts and is going to leave as trash.
Huge amounts of what people send to her recycling plant will never be recycled. The worst is plastic, which for years has been marked with the recycling symbol.
We see stuff like this all the time. Recycling arrows on it. Please recycle. It's not recyclable.
Even worse, plastic bags clog the recycling machines.
You have to climb in for a couple hours every day and cut them out with the box cutter.
But people think most of our plastic is recycled.
Yeah, I do think so. Is it not? You're gonna tell me it's not? That's the trick?
The reality is that
the amount of plastic actually recycled is around 5%.
Wow. I figured there was something coming, but I'm shocked right now. I didn't know.
It's sad.
all my life I've heard about how important it is to recycle.
It's not.
Science writer John Tierney debunked recycling claims years ago. His New York Times Magazine story, "Recycling is Garbage," set a record for Times hate mail. And yet, what you said is still true?
It's even more true today. In fact, the economics have just gotten worse.
Now, my city would save more than $300 million a year if it just stopped recycling.
Recycling is an industry that's using increasingly expensive labor to produce materials that are worth less and less.
Because it's not worth recycling here, much is shipped overseas to countries like Malaysia.
Look at that.
Where it's just piled up.
A vast field of plastic 2 stories high.
Some of it from America.
See if we can look on the back here. Marysville, Ohio. Look, Walmart bag.
They just dump here, and then they burn it.
That pollutes even more. And what they don't burn, they sometimes dump in the ocean.
1 garbage truck of plastic is dumped in the sea every minute.
Oh, man.
Barely any of that plastic.
It's crazy, right? So,
Yeah,
and
this is from Marysville, Ohio.
These stories have been out forever, but what happens is it becomes a business. It becomes an industry. And once it becomes a business and once it becomes an industry, then you have lobby groups. Then you have people that are working on your behalf. Now we're talking about jobs. You're really not solving any of the world's problems. But so long as the perception in the consumer's mind is that they're doing something conscientious and they're doing something good for the planet and they're trying to save Mother Earth, well, then all of a sudden you can make money off of it and you can create an industry for yourself. I just think people need to understand how the world works. Again, recycling for the most part is just a waste of your time. As I've said many, many, many times, it's just a business like anything else. Now let me go over to this one, Isaiah, and then I get some advertisers. Medical peer-reviewed journals, right? So you hear peer-reviewed all the time, and this is okay. Well, we got peer-reviewed. This is people learn the term, the average person, peer-reviewed studies during COVID. And I just want to give you an idea of what was going on with me. We had Charlie Robinson on yesterday, and one of the things I love about his macro aggression show on Spotify is that he's very well researched. He's written 3 books, and it's hard to argue with somebody who has all the details of where they got their information from, and they stack them on top of each other, and you go, man, that's hard to refute. You know, you got a lot of information there for me to have to refute, and it becomes impossible. The weight of the information sells the story. So medical peer-reviewed journals is something I started looking into during COVID. And let me just show you how this all started. I've told you many times, and I won't get into it again, that I understood that COVID was going to be a con job long before 99.99999% of the world and the country, just by happenstance, right? Just some lucky circumstances that fell into my brain. I knew we were getting ready to get into a con job, and I tried to warn everybody in my life and as many people as I could influence that it was going to be a con job. And as it started to take shape, I wanted to prove that I was right, Isaiah. You know how that is? You get that, they get that obsession to prove that you're right to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So they were putting out peer-reviewed journals into the marketplace about COVID, and I started to read them. And as I started to read them, I started to recognize that the information coming out of Fox News, for example, because Fox News is what I was watching. Fox News was not what was in the peer-reviewed journals. They were misinterpreting everything that they were saying, and the journals were lying. Ultimately, they were lying about it. One of them was about hydroxychloroquine. Do you remember when Donald Trump came out and said hydroxychloroquine? And we go, see, he's trying to tell people, Rob, he's trying to tell you it's hydroxychloroquine. If you take, I know that he's wearing the mask, and I know he's throwing Fauci out there everywhere, and I know he shut down society, and I know he's giving daily press conferences about how deadly COVID is, and I know they got the rolling scoreboards up there with the cases and the deaths and all that. I see all that, Rob. But he's also telling you that if you just take hydroxychloroquine, everything will be all right. Don't you get it? He's trying to expose them, and I said, but wait a minute, that's not what they're saying. What they're saying is hydroxychloroquine in and of itself doesn't do jack diddly ding dong for you. Nothing. Hydroxychloroquine with zinc was the answer. Right? I can't sell you a peanut butter jelly sandwich if I don't give you the jelly. Right, Isaiah?
Yeah.
So it tastes different because it is different. And in this particular case, it was insignificant to take hydroxychloroquine in and of itself. So when I'm watching Fox News day after day after day, and they're saying hydroxychloroquine, Trump saying hydroxychloroquine, I'm like, I know, but that's not what the peer-reviewed journals are saying. They're saying hydroxychloroquine along with zinc can help you for COVID. Not hydroxychloroquine. It's the two in combination. And when I started to tell people that, they started to watch it on the news, and I would get feedback going, you're right. All they talk about is hydroxychloroquine. I said, I'm telling you, these people are con artists. And then if you take hydroxychloroquine and it doesn't work, then what do you say? Donald Trump's a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Medical peer-reviewed journals in the year 2026, our 250th anniversary tomorrow. Institutional corruption is something, that's why I said the recyclables. How about peer-reviewed journals? Check out this clip. Number 2, Isaiah.
Peer review high impact editors in most of the journals that are the most high impact saying that they don't believe what is being published in those journals is trustworthy anymore, and no one cares. Now imagine if the editor of the New York Times came out and said, I think more than 50% of what we're publishing in the New York Times is fake. You think that would ruffle any feathers? But when Marcia Engel does that as the head of the New England Journal of Medicine, it doesn't even make the nightly news. No one's talking about it. The BMJ, the Lancet, all of those editors have come out and said, we have a huge problem. We can't replicate this research, and we actually don't even know who did the research. In some cases, they're going back and trying to find the labs where the research has been done in Iran or China or wherever. The lab doesn't exist. So when I tell you that everywhere we've looked for corruption, we've found it, this is what I want everybody to really take away, because it's not just health. It's literally, the corruption it's penetrated everything.
The corruption has penetrated everything. So let's talk about where the corruption is just very quickly. On the 250th anniversary, remember how we started the show. Mike Compton explaining to you how to be a citizen. My desire to, when I get back to Missouri, to influence the Missouri government, to start teaching our children what it means to be free, what it means to be a citizen, how they have to stay engaged in the process, how they have to understand their constitutional rights, how they have to fight for their constitutional rights, what it means to be an American. I'm proud to be an American, Isaiah, where at least I know I'm free.
That's right.
But you're not free just because the government says you're free, or because Fox News says you're free, or because you want to wave the flag or put it on your front porch. You're only free if the citizens demand that their constitutional protections be protected, constitutional protections protected by the government itself, a government of, by, and for the people. We've completely lost that as a society. Completely lost it. As I've said before, if you want to, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Isaiah, you'll get 1 million people out to celebrate the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. If you want to have proper elections in your state so that you can remain free, you can't get more than 200 or 300 people down to Jefferson City. Think about that. Think of how crazy our society is. 1 million people to celebrate Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Try to keep your freedom through the ballot box, and you can't get 200 or 300 people down to Jefferson City. That's where
Rob,
we're at.
we don't talk about religion or politics, though. We don't want people to know about our religion or politics because that's what society told me.
What do you think about that idea?
That's what they told me at public school. Okay, that's what I gotta. That's what I gotta do, Rob. They told me that at public school. So I have to follow the rules.
Isaiah, this is a true story. When I was on the radio, this is a true story. I said, I can't get really excited about just mundane conversation. I can't talk about the weather and all that stuff. I just I check out. And I said the things that are most interesting to me and the things that I like to talk about it are sex, religion, right? Drugs, things that really are taboo in society. And people went crazy about talking about sex. I go, well, I'm not saying that we're going to get into explicit sex. I'm talking about, I'm just talking about, culture and how sex plays a role in culture. Those are things that are very interesting to me. And I'm telling you, when I was at Real Talk Radio, when I made that mention, I had probably a dozen people respond to that going, sex, we should never be talking about sex in public. And, and people went crazy. I'm like, okay, well, maybe that's it. Politics.
Turn on the TV.
Right. We can't talk about politics either. Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about politics and mixed company. And I think
it's not I Love Lucy anymore. You know what I mean? They're not sleeping in separate beds on TV anymore.
Yes. I just was texting back and forth with Ben Keithley. Ben Keithley is out of Chesterfield. I like Ben. He's a proponent of A5. So I got two things going on here, Isaiah. Just because I'm just responding to Ben here in real time. He said he'll come on the show and he wants to talk about A5.
Awesome.
Very smart guy, Ben Keithley. Okay. Now we're talking about a sharp person. So we'll talk about A5. We'll find out what he has to say about it. He'll answer our questions and we'll determine whether A5 is a good thing. But, there could be shades of this, right? It could be good for 20% of the people and bad for 80. It could be good for 80 and bad for 20. It could be a 50-50 split. Could be a complete disaster. We don't know. We really don't know because we don't understand the structure moving forward, right?
I just don't understand. This is what I get to with Amendment 5 is that because it's not everything. I think the idea is good, right? But I don't know about suspending the Hancock Amendment for 5 years, right?
They say it's not.
It is.
They say it's not, though.
For 5 years.
They say it's not.
Yeah,
I'm with you, but they're saying
that's a lie.
Saying that it's a portion or this and that. Well, let's see what they have to say. I don't want to call them liars.
It's literally it's in it. It's in there.
What does it say? What do you see?
Let's see. I got to find it now.
So I was just watching a conversation go back and forth between proponents and naysayers, and the proponents were saying it's not.
Yeah, here we go. So it is this point right here. So this point, it doesn't say that it's going to suspend the Hancock Amendment. It does not say that explicitly. But the language that they use, remember I was talking to you about the language and legalese, and we were talking about how it's like, if they say this, then it gives them a little more leeway. So this is what people say, and I would love to hear someone push back on this. Maybe someone can educate us on this, right, Rob?
Yep.
But this is lines number 9 through 14. It's point 2 under section 4D. It says, notwithstanding any provision of this Constitution to the contrary, the General Assembly shall enact legislation to reduce and eliminate the state individual income tax by requiring the reductions to the top rate of the individual income tax based on revenue growth until such tax is eliminated. So what I've heard is that, and then you go down here to this section 26.2, notwithstanding any provision of the Constitution to the contrary. So that phrase over and over again used means that essentially, because that's in our Constitution, that this would overwrite that part of the Constitution and give them power to do things that the Hancock Amendment restrains them from doing right now by essentially issuing taxes without any votes, right? And so that's my understanding. You know, I'm a citizen. I'm just a normal guy here, right?
Let's see what he says, because there's a couple things. So we'll have Ben Keithley on. He'll tell us about why he's for A5. We'll have him on. What I also want to do, and I'm going to reach out. So we have Joe Nicola, Senator Joe Nicola from Missouri, did a social media post where he had a tax guy on there, and the tax guy said he did not think that A5 was going to be good for Missourians. Then you have a guy named Dennis Ganal, who's been on the show at least once, maybe twice. I can't remember. At least once. He's a proponent of A5. What I'd like to see is the two tax experts go back and forth. So I'm going to invite them both on to communicate with each other.
Very fun.
It'd be a lot of fun just for Missourians to see, okay, here's two tax guys that are both in the political game. They've inserted themselves into the political conversation. Let's just moderate it. Let them have a conversation with each other, and then the audience can determine whether they think A5 is good or bad. Fair enough?
That's fair enough.
Okay.
And I think this is what I'll say too, just as a disclaimer, Rob. I think the idea of what they're trying to do is good.
I do too. That's why I said
I think that people think that we think that that's not a good thing.
Well, they think that we don't want to reduce income tax. I'm in Florida because of income tax.
What are you talking about?
It's just a matter of the method of doing it.
Yes, right? that's how you're doing it. That's I think what people have a problem with.
If I want to teach my child to be tough, right? There's multiple different ways to do it. One of them is beating them.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want to beat my kid. There's different methods to get your point across. And I'm saying that maybe, just maybe, we should contemplate whether A5 is ultimately good and is the right method to get rid of income taxes. That's all we're saying. And that's what we've been saying from the get-go. So we'll play it all out here. We'll see how it goes down. Let me get some advertising in here, Isaiah. Let's start with People's Lobby Missouri. Had some people wanting to put money in, asking me where to send it. I got to get a treasurer. I think we're going to have a treasurer this week. We could not get Rick Babbitt's. His association would let him do it. So we'll have a new treasurer coming in, and we'll begin the process of getting back and running.
Rick Babbitt's would be the best.
Would be fantastic. We can't have him. We'll find somebody else. But People's Lobby Missouri is a 501c4, a nonprofit in the state of Missouri, a nonprofit that says we will be your voice. We'll use the show. We'll use our platform. We'll use our volunteers. We'll use the donations to make sure that we answer the questions properly for our citizens. That's it. That's what we're here to do. And when we feel that the government is misleading us, taking us down the wrong road, not being accountable for their actions, overtaxing us, not running proper elections, then we will begin to put pressure on them. And when I say pressure, we talked about this the other day, Isaiah. This isn't pressure where you are going to, it's a drip. Isaiah, everything is in inches. That's why I played that 10th Amendment guy the other day. When you want to move a huge organization backwards, it's moving forward at you right now, right? They're taxing you. They basically, you feel like you have no control over your government anymore. In order to turn that big ship around, it takes time. But pressure starts to build as more and more people start to understand how the game is played. Right? I might have the greatest athlete in the world, but if they've never played baseball before, they're not going to be any good to me because they don't know how to play the game. We got to teach people how to play the game so that we can begin to turn this ship around and push it in the right direction. That is what People's Lobby Missouri is all about. It is a pressure and marketing campaign. So when you're like, well, what do you guys do? Well, we're going to market and we're going to pressure. We got to build we have to build up our reserves. We got to have money to have meetings. We're going to work alongside Act for Missouri because they do all the research. They can kind of show you what's going on. And then what we do is we are the mouthpiece and the marketing piece to drive it out to more and more people. So the masses, the everyday person who really doesn't have time to understand what's going on, especially in state government, because there's not a Fox News for state government, right? So people don't know what's going on. We want to share that information. We want to get out in front of as many people as we can, and over time, have people interested in what goes on in state government, because it's just as exciting as Fox News, Isaiah. That's the thing. State government has all of the same attributes as the federal government. It's just that we don't pay attention to it because there's not a TV channel dedicated to it. The TV channels are dedicated to national news, not local news.
Mm-hmm.
Sense? Okay. So that's what we are all about. you don't mind, drop some the website for People's Lobby Missouri,
Yeah.
and I'll show you what we got going on here. So ultimately, what we're going to do is we'll start putting videos out on a continual basis. So there's a reason to go there. Right now, it's kind of a stagnant. We're building money. We got to figure out how we want to use the website. You know, we're not as technically savvy as Act 4 Mo, which we got to get a link for Act 4 Mo on our site if we haven't done that yet. But if you go there, what we're looking for as much as anything is we need donations. We like small donations. $5, $10 a month would be fantastic. Something that doesn't bother you. If you can't afford it, obviously don't do it. Don't break your back trying to do this. But if you can't afford it, donate. Help us. We need the money, that's for sure. And then secondly, if you can't donate, you can volunteer. Just sign up. Give us your email. We'll start communicating with you. Probably right after the primaries is when that's going to begin. And we'll start communicating with people. We'll set up meetings. We'll set up conversations, Zoom calls, space calls on X. We'll begin to communicate and build our family from the ground up. That is peopleslobbymo.com. peopleslobbymo.com. All right. And then Rocket. This is one of our national advertisers. This is Rocket Careers, my good friends Mitch and Brian. Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. And we're going to get to Bitcoin right after this. So if you tuned in for Bitcoin, right after the advertisements, we're going to get into Bitcoin. Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. Again, my friends Mitch and Brian. If you're they specialize in small to medium-sized businesses. If you're a small to medium-sized business and human resources, maybe you don't have a human resources department because it's too expensive. Maybe your human resources department continues to put schlubs in front of you who don't do good work, right? Who don't fit within your business, but it's the best you can do. You need a warm body, so you start hiring these people. If you lean on rocketcareers.com, let me tell you why it will change your business. Number one, these guys have been at it for a long time. They know how to read candidates. They know whether they're good candidates or not. And sometimes they're going to deal with candidates who aren't very strong, and they're going to teach them how to be strong candidates, how to look at getting a job, not only getting it, but being successful at it. Rocketcareers.com, ROCKIT careers.com for all the small to medium-sized businesses out there, talent recruiting, outplacement services. They are best in class because they actually care about you and the business that you have. They also care about people looking for work that are out of jobs, that hate their life because their jobs suck so bad they can't stand it anymore. They will help you launch a new career at Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. You can reach them at 636-778-2419, 636-778-2419. Like all of our advertisers, and this one in particular, it's that call that you just kind of hesitate to make, or you procrastinate and you don't do it. And it's just that one call that can set the direction of your new life when you launch a new career with Rocket, ROCKIT careers.com. How about Kit's Speed Shop, Isaiah? Kit's Speed Shop. All right. Kit's Speed Shop. They want to just donate to the cause, right? That's what he said. Rob, love the show. I want to participate in it. Been around for a long time. Kit does antique and classic transmission work in Sedalia, Missouri, in Hangar 5. He's well known for his vast expertise and knowledge when it comes to transmission repair. My first wife, her father was big into old classic cars. He had a ton of them. And I love old classic cars. So if you have cars, especially classic cars, even airplanes that need transmission repair, it is Kit's Speed Shop, KITS, Kit's Speed Shop. He says, no classic car, maybe you own a plane. Kit is also a certified A&P and AI, which is everything airplane owners are on the lookout for. And I have friends that own airplanes. Maybe this is where they go, right? Maybe if you have a airplane repair, it is Kit's Speed Shop in Sedalia, Missouri, Hangar number 5. You can reach him at 660-909-6000, 660-909-6000. Kit's Speed Shop in Sedalia, Missouri. And then ECS Roofing. I just saw he did another job. So the guy's hustling. I love it. This is our good friend Larry Evans with ECS Roofing and Exteriors. You can check out their work on Facebook. We like him because he's reliable. He's won me over with his explaining to me, Rob, there aren't many roofers that really are looking out for customers. They want to get as much money out of that customer as they possibly can. They want to get them into the system, and they look at business the way corporations look at business. They want to squeeze as much money out of you as you possibly can because they might not have a lot of customers. So the customers they do get, they got to get that money from them. He said, we just don't operate that way. We're a little different animal. We'll give you the best price. We'll give you a great roof, and we'll do it in a conscientious fashion. As I said, he just did business with one of our listeners, and the guy said, "Yeah." He goes, "When he was done, he was going around with a metal detector to make sure that all the nails were picked up." I said, "See, I've had my roof done. I didn't see people doing that." He didn't want people to walk around the yard and step on a nail because they had finished the roof, so he walked around with a metal detector to pick up all the nails. That's the level of service you're gonna get with ECS Roofing and Exteriors. He said to me, "Rob, if you can fit this in," this is just recently, he said, "ECS is trusted and on call for 14 insurance agents in the Tri-City County area. ECS completes inspections for the agents to help their clients make an informed decision before making a claim. And the reason that's important is because he works on roofing, siding, gutters, decks, you name it, garage doors. But he's a licensed independent insurance adjuster. When he tells you the insurance companies are going to work with you to help fix or replace your roof, he knows what he's talking about. He's not a fly-by-night guy that's going to knock on your door, get you into the system, tell you that the insurance companies are going to work with you when they won't. Completely different way of looking at business is ECS Roofing and Exteriors. Been around for 30 years. It's a reliable person who used to build homes. You can reach him at 314-486-3567. 314-486-3567. And then one more, Isaiah, because it is the weekend. And when it's the weekend, it's Valvoline Express Care. He says, "Rob," he goes, "I don't understand it," but he goes, "Everybody comes in on the weekends to get their oil changed. If it's time for an oil change and you're in the family, you got to remember to use Valvoline Express Care. You can check him out at Valvoline-Express Care. If you need some coupons, he's got some coupons on there. Valvoline-expresscare.com. Valvoline-expresscare.com. 15 minutes from Beta on your way. Quick, efficient, no nonsense, no pressure, oil changes. Valvoline Express Care. Locations in Warrenton, Cape Girardeau, St. Peter's Parkway, Mid Rivers Mole Drive, Troy, Illinois, Lemay Ferry Road, and I think there's another one. Isaiah, pop those up for me real fast if you don't mind.
Yep.
I think there's Highland, Illinois that I don't. What is? Yeah,
Yep. Highland, Illinois, Troy,
Yes.
Illinois.
Yeah, I think Highland, Illinois is the one I didn't have written down. Let me write that down. Why wouldn't they just write it down right now? You know what I mean, Isaiah? Why are we waiting? Probably thinking the same thing. Highland, Illinois. All right. So that is Valvoline Express Care. Again, if I don't see that sticker in your window, I know Isaiah feels the same way. I just don't know how we can be friends when this guy is supporting our cause. You're going to get an oil change. You have a car. Why not use Valvoline Express Care and our good friend Tony Clark, who's been supportive from the get-go. All right, let's get into Bitcoin.
Right.
I want to talk about Bitcoin because it's something I've never understood, Isaiah, and it is my brother-in-law was big into it. He was trying to get me to buy it. This is when I was making, I had a chunk of money to spend. I could have put a lot of money into Bitcoin, and maybe I should have because a lot of people supposedly made a lot of money off of it. I didn't understand it, Isaiah. I still don't understand it. But when I started thinking about it, if the government is selling the idea of digital currency, CBDCs, and I see all of the data points that tell me that this government wants complete and total control over its citizens, Nazi style, communist style, whatever it is, some form of style where they want total surveillance of our country, then why would they want to be perpetuating Bitcoin and digital currency? I just went, wait a minute. Won't they just take this over like everything else? Because if they tell you that you can't trade in Bitcoin, Isaiah, it's illegal, then what are you going to do? You can't trade in it, right? So if you're going to say that you're going to use Bitcoin and this and that and the other, all the government has to do is say it's illegal. But instead, I think they want people to get enamored with it because they think it's a free way and an instantaneous way to transfer currency. And I always was skeptical. I said, that government doesn't seem like that's what they're going to get done. Seems to me a little bit more like they want to get you involved in it. They want to sell it nice and slow to you. They want to get you all excited about Bitcoin. They want you to buy into it. They want you to tell everybody how great it is because you're making money on it. And now it's up to $100,000. Now it's up to $120,000. Now it's back to 70. Now it's back to 80. Where is Bitcoin now, Isaiah? Do you have any idea?
Let's look it up. We can look it up right now.
I'm curious what Bitcoin is at. I remember when it was around 25,000. I remember being out with some buddies of mine. They go, you got to buy this thing. It's going to get up to 50,000. It went up to 100,000.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people made a lot of money on it.
Oh yeah, my CEO of mine told me it was going to get to 100,000 when it was at I don't even think it was at 10,000 yet, Rob. And he told me that, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, buddy, yeah.
Kip says, Rob, it's a magnet the roofers use on the lawn to pick up the nails used like detectors. All right, brother. I have not seen that done. I got my roof done, and I had a big roof to take care of. It was a massive undertaking at my old home. I don't remember anybody, and I watched it the whole time because I thought, man, these roofs are really sleep. They were 62,000. is what Bitcoin is at. And it was over 100,000 there for a minute.
Yeah, it was it looks like the peak was 122,260 on October 4th, 2025.
So it's half of what it was.
Yep.
Basically half of what it was. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin because one of my favorite people, I talk about her all the time, is Catherine Austin Fitts. Catherine Austin Fitts was the first female CEO or president of Dillon Reed Bank out of Pennsylvania, one of the largest investment firms in the entire country. She was in the G.H.W. Bush administration. She has a background in finance. She's a brilliant person. All you got to do is talk to her, ask her the questions. I've watched her done 100 interviews. She never gets stumped. When she doesn't know an answer, she'll say, well, here's what I think, but I don't really know that. She communicates like somebody who's being an honest purveyor of information. She was asked recently about Bitcoin, and it is the reason I never got into Bitcoin is because what she is describing is what I believe ultimately is going to happen with cryptocurrency. Clip number 10, Isaiah. This is Catherine Austin Fitts explaining Bitcoin.
About community currency. Some people could say that's what Bitcoin was supposed to be. That's why Bitcoin came about, to offer an alternative to centralized currency, where Bitcoin has gone to now from where it started. That's a whole other conversation. But in its ethos, essentially, that was supposed to be a peer-to-peer currency, at least if we believe the narrative.
Let's talk about the narrative here. So if you look at why Bitcoin was created and why it was prototyped, it was created and prototyped to prototype programmable money for the purpose of control. If you look at the design, it could have been a great global payment system. It could have been a really elegant, functioning payment system. Early on, it was hijacked. There's a wonderful book by Roger Ver and Steve Patterson called Hijacking Bitcoin. It's one of the best financial books I've ever read. It's really about technology, but Bitcoin was always going to be a prototype for the control grid. Now, there were many wonderful people who didn't understand that and thought it was going to be a sincere effort at building a payment system. And they put their heart and soul into it. And they believed they were going to be free. I'll never forget, I was at a crypto conference in 2017. And all these folks are running around saying it's totally private. It's not private at all. I kept telling them, look, if you're doing taxable trades, you better escrow your taxes because they're going to come after you. And sure enough, when on the next dump, the Wall Street Journal announced that the IRS was appointing 10,000 auditors to go after them. So you had a lot of wonderful people who thought this was going to be a great freedom technology, and they didn't understand what they were a part of. So let me just explain. Before that 2017 crypto conference, I was in Zurich on business, working with a couple of money managers, and I had to go back over to Zurich. I was in Basel, and I drove by the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. It's 2017. A lot of the crypto developers are over in Zug, which was an area where a lot of that was happening in Switzerland. I go into the Swiss Railway to buy a ticket on Swiss Railway, and I bring the thing up, and it offers me the opportunity to not only buy my railway ticket in Bitcoin, but to top up my wallet. And I'm like walking, I'm just like 1,000 yards from the BIS. And you realize this is not a grassroots phenomena here.
So you believe that Bitcoin is a Trojan horse to get people to accept digital money? Is that what you believe?
No, I believed it was a prototype. And it was a prototype that was used in a variety of ways. And one of the ways it was used was basically to pump and dump and bring people in who would prototype. I think they used a lot of the people who built Bitcoin rails and Bitcoin companies to help them figure out how to do the distributed ledger technology and how to apply it to different financial products. So here's the thing, and it's very typical of the guys who run the financial system. When you want to get something like programmable money prototyped, you can't go hire the top 1,000 software developers because they don't want to work for you and they certainly don't want to build a control system, right? So what you want to do is you want to put out prototypes where they embrace it because they think they're going to be free and it's going to do all these wonderful things. And then they run around and develop it. And it's a way of testing and trying things. There's a wonderful book I recommend to you by Tim Wu called The Master Switch. And it's about the history of information technology and how a new technology comes along. And there's a period when all these entrepreneurs grab it and say, it's wonderful, it could do this, it could do that. And 1,000 flowers bloom, and then wham, all of a sudden it consolidates into a handful of the same old companies and further central control. And then another one comes along and there's this blossoming, and then wham. And that's what happened with crypto. And when the time was ready, the big boys came in and took it over. And so now, essentially, the biggest player in the Bitcoin market is BlackRock.
This is the, and that's
fantastic. We love BlackRock.
But it's funny because I know nothing about these type of things, right?
Me neither.
Ben Murphy, who might be listening to the show, he was working with Ben Keithley, who we were just talking about, for Bitcoin in Missouri. And and I don't, again, I have a full disclaimer, I don't understand the technology. I don't even understand what's going on with it.
Me neither.
I know people are buying all kinds of different cryptocurrencies because they think it's going to be a freedom to transact. It's going to be instantaneous. It's going to be great. If I want to give Isaiah $5, all I gotta do is go on my phone. He's got $5 instantaneously. There's nobody's gonna see it. It's between me and him, blah, blah.
There's no company even. There's no worker.
Never made any sense to me. It never made any sense to me. And as she said, they started taxing people on their Bitcoin transactions, right? So if you bought it at 20,000 and you sold it at $80,000, you're gonna get a capital gains on that trade. Now they want to tax you on. I said, well, if they're taxing you, then they're aware of it. And this system that we're in right now, based on the things that they're doing, they're not giving up control of currency. I mean, you just have to use your common sense at times. I think what the difference is, people who believe this system is working on their behalf, they think the federal government and the state governments and the local governments are there as a force for good. They buy into stories like this. They buy into the stories that we're bringing freedom all over the world. They buy into everything because they have a favorable impression, not of America and our Constitution, but of our institutions and our federal apparatus, which could be the Federal Reserve all the way down to people working in the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C.
Isn't it Ronald Reagan who said the most terrifying word?
9 words. I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Exactly.
I mean,
great line.
But again, this is the education system, right? Because this is how we are all raised. I was listening to Dan and Drew. I listened to their show in the morning. I like Dan and Drew, so I was listening to their show in the morning, and they're very patriotic guys, right? And they're singing the July 4th, 250. They're playing songs and they're getting all into it. And I thought,
great,
it's wonderful to be that patriotic. I love it. I think it's awesome, and I understand why they're doing it. I come at it from just a slightly different angle, in as much as what are we doing to protect it? What is every person doing to protect freedom for future generations? If you don't look at it through that lens, eventually it will slip through your fingertips and you're not going to have it anymore. I think it's just, you can see it beginning to happen now. And I think at some point we have to recognize it and rally the troops to get things done. So that is Catherine Austin Fitts giving you her opinion on what Bitcoin is all about, programmable currency, CBDCs, and the like. She says, okay, the big guy's got it now. The biggest owner now of Bitcoin is BlackRock.
Larry Fink.
Now we know. Yeah, now we know where it's going. Let's play clip number 5. All right. So we just had Alex Newman on the show. Alex Newman is doing it. Remember Alex Newman, Isaiah, when we had him on the show? Brilliant guy. Love him. I got to get Andrew Miller back on the show. Please remind me of that if we don't forget. We got to get Andrew back.
Amy, if you're listening, help us out.
Yeah, Andrew, we got to get him back on. I love his mind too. He's a brilliant guy. But Alex Newman, he just had G.W. Griffin on. G Edward. When I say G.W. G. Edward Griffin on. Good Lord, I'm getting old.
G.W.
G.W. Bush. G. Edward Griffin on. I think I even wrote down G.W. I'm such a loser. G. Edward Griffin. And I had G. Edward Griffin scheduled for my show. The guy's like 94 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there waiting. It was on the radio. He had confirmed it, this and that and the other. And he said, Rob, I didn't write it down when I told you I was going to come on. I'm so sorry. We'll have to reschedule later. And I just haven't went back to him yet. But I want to get G. Edward on. This guy is the one who understands the Federal Reserve. He wrote his famous book. What's it? I forget the name of the book. Jekyll Island. Something to do with Jekyll Island.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know the book. Yeah.
Yeah, and he explains the Federal Reserve. G. Edward Griffin is one of my favorite people. Alex Newman is one of the brightest minds in the country. And they get into a conversation about the Federal Reserve. Okay. And crypto is going to come up. Listen to what G. Edward Griffin had to say about the Federal Reserve and what is happening in our country right now. This guy is 90-something years old, been telling these stories for 50 years. I think he might have some experience as to what is going on with the Federal Reserve, cryptocurrency, and how this system actually works. Clip number 5, Isaiah.
Yeah, Chris got it. Creature from Jekyll Island. That's the book.
Jekyll Island. That's it.
The reserve system is not a government agency like we used to think it would, like I used to as a young guy. It's a cartel. It's no different than a sugar cartel or oil cartel. or maybe a drug cartel. It happens to be a banking cartel. It's completely private, and it's a shocker when you discover that. So what is this darn thing? It's really it's a cartel of bankers, banks, or the big major banks. And of course, with all cartels, there's only one purpose for it, and that's to advance the advantage of the members of the cartel. That's what it is. And that's why nothing seems to work for us, because that's not what it's really supposed to do. Now, cutting to the chase, what do I think is happening? I think this cartel has come to the decision that it's going to destroy itself anyway, and the country along with it. So rather than waiting for everything just to collapse, they made a decision, I think, probably a little over a year ago, to terminate themselves. But that wouldn't be the end of it. They were going to transist into something even worse. And the idea, they could say, well, that didn't work, and now we can fix it. We have a new system, you know. But of course, and everybody say, oh, we have a new system. We'll be trusting the same old guys that put us into the mess that we're in today. We'll be entrusting those same people to get us out of the mess. So when I say a new system, I'm talking about digital money, of course. What they want to do is just take away our money completely. There's a slogan out there: if you don't own it, if you don't hold it, you can't own it. You know, that's the one thing about digital money. The way they're planning on using it with all these central banks is that it won't even be ours. Of course, you can't hold digital money. It's a computer algorithm of some kind. And so, where is it? Well, it's there in your account, Mister. As long as you have an account, and they have the switch on off. So if they don't like you for whatever reason, and they have lots of reason not to like you and me, because
and I wear that as a badge of honor.
You may just wind up some bright sunny morning and want to buy a cup of coffee, and there's nothing to buy it with, because our account will be closed pending investigation or something like that. So I think what's happening is a self-destruct process that the Federal Reserve is inflicting on itself, and it's wanting to replace it with something that's even worse.
There you go. There you go, Isaiah. By the way,
doesn't even have to be Bitcoin either, right?
It doesn't have to be Bitcoin. It's programmable money is what he's talking about. Digital currency, which is what Bitcoin ultimately is, right? It's a digital currency. And they're basically saying they're going to what Catherine Austin Fitts, if you really pay attention to what she said they allowed for the market to basically what's the word I'm looking for? Experiment with best methods. She said they experiment, and then the big guys, once they get it to where it's perfected the way they think it's going to be good, then the big guys come in and take it over. And that makes perfect sense to me, understanding how this system works, right? The money always wins. Power always stays with power.
You don't know how it's going to work until you roll it out to the people. How are they going to respond? How do they use it, right? That's how software rolls out of software, is they get a test group of people, and they say, okay, how are you using it? You know, here's our beta, right? Is what they call them. And they test it out. They're beta testing, and they say, okay, hey, I don't like this. I like this. And then it's like, okay, boom, boom. And then they get it to where it's ready to go. And they're like, all right, version 1, whoop, let's put all the money into advertising now. And then
Can you imagine the society? Because they're going to get there. They'll get there in this country unless I always say, the reason I love America is there's something different about the spirit in America. Maybe it is divine, right? There's something that goes on here. Throughout our history, which is only 250 years, when things got really nasty, we did as a people figure it out. There is enough of the Constitution that we accept, even the people that have tried to usurp it. There's enough understanding of what our God-given rights are that it seeps through the cracks. Every time something gets too far out of whack, the American citizens start to talk amongst one another, and they start to figure things out, and then they push back against too much corruption. I got to think that at some point that's going to happen in this country, Isaiah. Digital currencies, the flock cameras, the warrantless searches, the complete insanity that goes on, again, like with the Jeffrey Winehouse. It's just unbelievable to me that man remains in pride. Bothers me every day. I'll be saying,
well, think about January 6th and how exacerbated it would be if flock cameras were everywhere at that time, right? And digital currency is prevalent to where everyone has a digital wallet instead of a physical bank account. All the things that he was mentioning to Alex there have already happened without digital money. With physical money, they said, oh, you went to the Capitol on January 6th, boop, let's turn off your bank account.
That's right.
Sorry,
thing
you
with
don't get
the
access anymore.
Canadian truckers. Same thing. Remember the Canadian truckers?
Oh my gosh, yes. That was even crazier because
Mhm.
I mean, not even. It's just I don't know about even crazier, but just maybe the vastness of how big it was because of all the trucks that were in the city at that time. It was just overwhelming. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes, and we're gonna have to block John from the chat. You see what he wrote? Telling you.
Oh my gosh.
You beat a guy for 30 years continuously at golf, and look at the reaction you get. He's just
He
constantly out there
can't
causing trouble
take
for
it.
me. Constantly causing trouble.
Look what Robert said.
Karcher Shoe Company I almost bought Famous Brand shoes.
Wow.
He said EJ hired my dad. It's EJ Nasrallah. We almost bought, so I almost bought, if you were in Missouri, Famous Brand shoes. I had a guy that worked there. They were selling off some stores. He came to me and he said, Rob, I was working at Skechers at the time. He said, would you be interested in buying 4 of the Famous Brand shoe stores? Do you know that name? Are you aware of the Famous Brand?
Oh, yeah.
You are? Okay.
Yep.
So, and EJ Nasrallah was the owner of it. And I got right down to the bitter end. But at the time, I was working at Skechers and the business was so good and I had the opportunity to make so much money. I didn't really want to get into retail and wholesale. I could, kind of create my own schedule and do my own thing and make more money. So I said, nah, I didn't do it. He ended up buying, I think he tried to buy the stores, maybe bought them and converted them into another name or something. But anyway, I don't want to get into the shoe business. I want to finish up on the crypto.
It's always fun to see when people are associated, though.
Yeah. That's kind of a weird connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to play number 11 right here because this was the conversation that we had yesterday about Trump tripling his money. And I know that this is not going to affect Trump supporters. This is going to go one ear out the other. They're not going to accept it. And I'm fine with that. It is what it is. I'm starting to recognize that's just how it goes. But Dana Perino even said, wait a minute, what's going on here with this family? If this was reversed, this is Dana Perino on Fox News. I'm sure she'll probably be fired by tomorrow morning. But she said, wait a minute, if Hunter Biden was doing this, remember we were all freaking out about Hunter Biden?
Yeah.
He's a piker compared to what the Trump family is doing. Here's what she had to say. This is in the roundtable, and it's always led by that Brian Kilmeade. Why do people like Brian Kilmeade? Do you understand it?
No.
After all these years,
No.
I don't understand why people are attracted to Brian Kilmeade anymore, or anybody at Fox News for that matter. But I don't. The Brian Kilmeade one is very. I used to like Brian Kilmeade, but after time, he starts to show his real colors, and now he's just become a mouthpiece. That's it. What I notice about some of these people is wherever the action's at, where the audience is at, they just try to placate to the audience. And I'm like, but that's not truth. That's not journalism. That's not really trying to inform your audience. That's just saying my audience loves Donald Trump. Therefore, I love Donald Trump because that's what's good for me and my profile. It's entertaining, I guess, but I don't know how it applies to news at all. Anyway, Dana Perino on Fox News. They're on their little sofa that they do on Fox and Friends in the morning. And here's how that conversation went. Clip number 11.
Your takeaway from that give and take. First off, they asked the president about his blind trust. They said, look, you made money in crypto. He's like, I have nothing to do with that. That's what happens when presidents go into office, right? They put their money elsewhere.
So I don't know enough about the details. He put out a disclosure yesterday. It was eye-opening for a lot of people that you can make that kind of money. Maybe it is in crypto, maybe it's not, but it does feel a little bit like, wait, what is going on? And the White House they have a good point. They're like, well, everybody's making money. Everybody's better. But if they think that this issue is not permeating across the country with people going, wait, what? They're not exactly on the most solid ground here. He did a decent job of trying to get the ball down the field a little bit and to deflect, but there's no doubt about that. But it's also the other questions of but then your children are involved in this. And if you remember, we spent a lot of time talking about Hunter Biden. Mm-hmm. Maybe his mistake was only asking for $10 million from Ukraine because maybe he wasn't smart enough to figure everything else. Now, these people are businessmen and they know what they're doing and they're looking at their big plans and they're not afraid to take a risk. And if you take a risk, that's how you can make a little bit of money. But you also have to have someone to help maybe open a door, and that's what's happening.
The decisions.
How uncomfortable do you think they were listening to that?
Look at them. They're like, oh my God.
They were screaming a little bit, it looked like. It seemed to me.
I was a little surprised at that, to be honest with you. I think maybe Dana Perino was sitting on the couch, didn't know what the topics were going to be because that's not good.
Yeah. The Reuters.
Maybe he didn't know how to maybe he didn't know how to work the money well enough.
I know. It's right? Like, hey, maybe
Hunter's not a businessman, so he doesn't know how to screw the American people.
He didn't get enough. He only got 10 million. He should have got $1 billion, right? The Reuters article that reported on this starting on June 30th when this all came out says that Reuters recently estimated that the Trump family has made at least $2.3 billion from crypto-related projects since Trump returned to the White House in 2025. That's only since this administration, since 2025, $2.3 billion.
Isaiah, why do you hate America so much?
Oh my
And
gosh,
where
I
did you
know.
get the TDS? There's medication for TDS, Isaiah.
I know. Did you see his AI doctor video he put out?
No.
Oh yeah.
I
Maybe
don't
we
pay
should watch
attention
it.
as much as I should. I don't really he put this out just recently. I mean, these are the things that I thought were funny at one time. I used to laugh at them, and now it's just not hitting me the same way. And I don't.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have TDS.
This AI one is pretty funny because he's got like he puts like Rosie O'Donnell in different people.
Do you have it? Grab it.
I can pull it up.
Let me
after
read
you.
this to you.
Sorry, I
So
didn't want to interrupt.
this was a Trump Truth Social, and it says, "I've served this country with everything I have and stopped many wars. Some say I've stopped over 100 wars, and yet I've never taken a single penny as payment from our beautiful country. I've worked very hard, much harder than the hardest working Americans. Personally, I would donate to a man like that, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America." Isn't that an odd thing to put out as the President of the United States? Let me give you this line here.
He's
"I've
the
never
best.
taken a single penny as payment from our beautiful country, despite the fact that he's made $2.4 trillion on policies and manipulation of the stock market. I've never taken a single penny as payment from our beautiful country. I've worked hard, very hard, much harder than the hardest working Americans." Now, that may be true because I think he is a really hard worker. It's one of the things I admire about the man is the lack of sleep and the constant ability to get in front of a television camera and keep as cool about it, because it ain't easy, right? You get tired and you got people asking you questions, not easy. But why would you say much harder than the hardest working Americans? Why would you even put that in there? Because it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a backhanded slap at American workers.
And we do have to give him, credit. He's only the third president ever to donate a salary. So,
but you make $2.4 billion. You can.
I know, but but it's like it's a give and take. But the other presidents are also making the money and not donating the salary. You know what I mean? That's my point. Is that, but it's like Elon Musk said with the Doge situation with USAID, right? It's like, oh, the Democrats get the 80% and they give the 20% just to keep the Republicans quiet. That's what I think it is. It's like, oh, I'm making the 2.3 billion, but I'm giving away my salary, so
right,
it's okay, right?
I got one more for you, then I'm going to move on to some other topics, but because I got some topics I want to cover today. Here's another one from Trump, though. He just puts this out. Now, I'm looking at it, and this is the reason I think I'm falling out of the boat of Donald Trump, all right? Because he's advocating for things that I think are the worst possible positions for America to be in, right? Here's another one that he puts out recently. It says the Supreme Court just took restrictions off political spending, a big win for Republicans, and more importantly, the First Amendment, President Donald J. Trump. So this is, again, where the corporations and the big money can influence the outcome of politics. I think that's one of the most destructive things that has ever happened. Citizens United, we talked about it at the time. Citizens United was something the Republicans were for only because Barack Obama was against. And at the time, if you remember the Fox News crowd, anything that Barack Obama did was bad, right? So if he was against Citizens United, then Republicans had to be for it. And I look at this and I think one of the most destructive things in America right now is you can buy government. You can just buy it. You want to buy it? Did they buy it down in Kentucky with Thomas Massey? Did they just buy it? They just bought it. So if you can buy government, why would the president of the United States, who sees this as a real problem, he has to see it as a problem, right? Because if George Soros or the highest bidder comes in and wants to start buying off your government like Miriam Adelson did, you just come in and you buy the government. You just say, look, I don't want that person there. They're getting in my way. I'm just going to go spend, I print money, right? So I can print money. So
Byron Donalds is doing it in Florida right now there. He's saying, oh, I don't need a debate. I've raised 10 times more money than all these guys combined on the stage.
You're like finishing my sentence. We're I don't know what's going on here, but
it's like we're on the same wavelength or something, right?
We're on the exact same page, but it's a true story.
We don't prepare either, guys. This is just all natural.
You show up 15 minutes and go. But you can buy elections either through cheating or just buy them outright. And Donald Trump is applauding that, saying it's good for him and it's good for the First Amendment for big corporations to come in and spend billions of dollars on your elections and steal it away from the American citizen who doesn't have the money to invest. I don't know. I'm wondering where my Trump supporters are going to say, you know what, Rob, we should at least start asking some questions because this is getting just a little bit dicey here. Just a little bit dicey.
Maybe we have TDS. Should we watch the TDS clip that he put out?
Play the clip. I got to see it. because he is funny. There he is.
Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with TDS? The symptoms can be relentless. Fortunately, I'm Dr. Trump, and I have a treatment plan. Let's hear what some of my patients have to say.
I have been suffering for over a decade, and after listening to Dr. Trump, I can see some results.
Man, I've been suffering for years. I really didn't believe that was help out there. That was when I came across this video on TV.
I really thought I was a lost cause. This was going to affect me for the rest of my life. But after using the treatment plan, I can see a difference.
I really wasn't sure I could help some of these people. They were so far gone, I wasn't really sure.
I had no idea how much this was
Ed
affecting
Norton?
my work is slowed down. I'm hardly recognizable anymore. I just needed help.
I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Constantly angry. I made everyone
Constantly
miserable
angry.
around me.
I feel like I've aged 20 years in the last
Julia
2
Roberts?
Wow.
I've been so concerned. I was really starting to worry about my future.
The treatment is simple. Turn off. Fake news. Say your prayers, and if you ever feel anxious, just have a Diet Coke like me, and you're going to see a remarkable difference in your life.
People were mad about it because he put that Diet Coke thing in there, and then the stock went up.
Well, hang on. There we go. Too much bright in my eyes here.
Getting a little blinded.
One of our lights. All right, let me if you don't mind, clip number 9, if you don't mind getting that ready. That is Slap Happy Hemp. Got to give a shout out to John Grady. He did a really good commercial I liked. I didn't even tell him I was going to do this, but he might be in the app today. SlapHappyHemp.com. Missouri government took his business away from him, so he has hemp products available.
People were asking if he had CBD products. So they were asking in the chat earlier.
He'll answer.
Yeah.
SlapHappyHemp.com. Again, this is out on Highway 50 in Rosebud, Missouri. Highway 50 in Rosebud, Missouri. Give him a call. Do some business with my man. If you use hemp products, he's got them for you. 636-388-8771. 636-388-8771. Or always remember, SlapHappyHemp.com. SlapHappyHemp.com. That's our good friend John Grady. I'll give him a shout out for his business, but I'm going to give him another one because he's running for office out there in Rosebud. And I think he did a really great commercial the other day. When I see a good commercial, I'm like, that was really good. Most of them don't make much effect. I just don't think they're very good. This one I thought was really good. So this is John Grady. He's running for office. He's an advertiser on the show. I agree with his plight. I agree with where he is on just about everything. And I agree with how he argues because he does it in I think a gentlemanly way, despite the fact I think he'd like to forearm a couple of these people. But nonetheless, he tries to stay above the fray, have the argument on the merits themselves. Here is John Grady running for office in Missouri, talking about his area. Check it out.
Standing here, one of my favorite spots along 100 between Morrison and Chamois. You can see the sun setting and a healthy field of soybeans. This is the backbone and beauty of the district. As we head into Saturday to celebrate 250 years of liberty and freedom, we remember our agrarian roots. We tip our hats to the farmers working the fields. District 61 has viticulture, row crops, cattle. Some of our corn's turned into Missouri bourbon. We feed the state, nation, and the world. And I'll work to ensure family farms remain in the family hands and are not taxed out of existence. I'll fight for farmers because I am a farmer. Check out more at votejohngrady.com.
Isn't that a good one? Nice and simple.
Very good.
Nice and smooth. And I love the picture because if you've ever driven out there,
Beautiful.
that is such a beautiful, beautiful drive. I actually thought about it when I was driving out there. I said, when I move back to Missouri, I don't know if my wife would like it. I like the rural areas. I like where I see lots of trees and greenery, and I just love that environment. I love opening up the windows and the doors, and I like to watch the Cardinals. Big win for the Cardinals last night, by the way. I like watching the Cardinals, and it just reminds me of being a kid where you can hear the crickets outside, and you got the fresh air, and you got the greenery around you. You don't get that much when you move into subdivisions. It just doesn't feel that way, right? You got your neighbor right on top of you. You look off your deck. There's a house right there. I kind of like it out in the rural areas. I think it's, I don't know. It's a little bit more peaceful life. So that road that leads to him, Highway 50, is just a beautiful, beautiful drive. If you want to get out there and check out SlapHappyHemp.com, check them out. Highway, what is it? Oh, what's the address?
Highway 50.
Highway 50 in Rosebud. You got it. All right, let me get one more, and that's Jones Water. JonesWater.com, JonesWater.com. This is the guy for me when it comes to water and air filtration systems and dehumidifiers. You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter, JonesWater.com. Everett's been with me for a long, long time. He is one of the first people that said, Rob, I support what you're doing. I want to be a part of it. He's been around for a long time, so I do as much as I can for him and his family to make sure that they are rewarded. He's been around since 1995. If you're drinking tap water in the year 2026, then, you know, I think at this point, Isaiah, there's not much I can do for these people. There's just you cannot drink tap water in the year 2026 with the fluoride and the gunk. It's got to be, if you have to save up for it, you need to save for your own health. You have to have clean air and fresh water in your home or business, or ultimately you're going to have ailments that you don't even know where they're coming from, because if you're breathing funky air and drinking funky water, odds are you're not going to stay healthy for long periods of time, and you're going to spend money on drugs and stuff for your skin and ointments. Clean air, clean water, JonesWater.com. You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter. If you want to do business with Everett Jones on the Missouri side, it's St. Charles County, Lincoln, Franklin, Warren, St. Louis, and Jefferson. If you go to the east side, the dark side, Madison, Monroe, Jersey, and St. Clair. JonesWater.com, 636-899-1040. Again, been around since 1995. You'll be the filter or you'll buy the filter, JonesWater.com. Sorry, Isaiah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I was just going to say you can, this is my dad joke. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't
filtrate it.
Filtrate. Yeah, I was going to say make him drink it, but that's even better. And then Rena here, she said, good morning, Rob and Isaiah. Set up 6 months of nutrition help with Marissa Jones for my daughter. She's great. Thanks for the recommendation.
See, that's what I mean. And what you'll find with us, Rena, thank you for doing that, by the way. I love when our community works together, because ultimately we want to work together. And I'll say this to the community really fast, right? Because we have a growing group of people. We end up influencing a lot of decision making for people. And what you're going to find is if you do business with the people that we bring into our family, I'm the watch guard. This is why you're getting somebody who's trying to do good business. Why would you want to be involved with me, knowing how I am as a person, right? Just what we talk about on this show. If my advertisers get over on you, we're going to have a real problem, right? And then I'm going to speak out about it. They don't want to do that. We only get the people that do business the right way. We only do business with people that are friendly. We only do business with best in class. That's how we determine who we're going to attach our star to, right, Isaiah? Because we're at the very beginning. We look at our advertisers and go, can you imagine what kind of business because we're not raising prices. We're not doing any of this stuff. Let
me preach for you, Rob, is that when we had no money, $0, and we had no money coming in, Rob's like, I don't know how we're going to do this. There's other advertisers that were not advertisers yet that were talking to us that are advertisers now, but they weren't then. And Rob's like, I don't know. I don't think we should take their money, Isaiah. I don't think we. I'm like, Rob, we have no money. He's like, I don't know. I'm too principled, and
well, I don't want to be.
He didn't want to rush into things. That's what it came down to.
I don't want to be involved with people that get over on my fan base.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by fan base, that's probably the wrong way, but supporters of what we're trying to get done. If you're giving your time and energy to us, I don't want to get advertisers in front of you that take advantage. I just don't want to get involved in that. It just doesn't work for me. And I figure we'll have more and more advertisers so long as we treat the people that are in the game with us properly. So that's where we're coming from. Not a righteous person necessarily, but
great business models. Treat people well.
Care about people, joining the community. So it's not just advertisement, but it's also political events. It's, we'll have you're going to see if you fast forward this thing, and I don't know how long it'll take, but in my mind, in my Rob's mind, I've got 3 years to really get done what I want to get done. Right. So I understand I understand how long of journey it is to get where you want to go. I already see the obstacles being put before me. My wife and I were just talking about it last night. And I said, honey, I have to spend more time in St. Louis because one of the things that I like to do is I like to speak in front of people. And the first People's Lobby Missouri event that I had, Isaiah, I let a bunch of politicians come up and speak. Even Jeff Jackson said, I spoke at your event and I let a lot of politicians speak, and I got a lot of heat for it. I think people were there to hear what I had to say. And then I let politicians come up and I got a lot of heat for it. They didn't want the politicians. They wanted to hear me. And they want to hear what my position was on certain things and how I viewed Missouri politics. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start telling people what I see. And I think if you understand where I'm coming from and where Isaiah's coming from, this is not a vanity project for us. This is a lot of freaking work. Isaiah, is it a lot of freaking work?
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you can understand what it takes to be prepared to do a 3-hour show every day, juggle 13, 14, 15 different advertisers and make sure that they're do everything you can to make sure their businesses run successfully.
Yeah, we
Get
got
out
people
to
reaching
Washington
out to us, like 75 people reaching out to us every day about a
every day.
story or something they want us to talk about.
Nonstop. And then now we're planning trips not just from Florida to St. Louis, but from St. Louis and Florida to Washington, D.C. every month, right? Make sure that we get that video, put that video together, put out clips, determine the clips, manage the clips. You're talking about 18 hours a day worth of work and it never goes away. You don't get any time off. You know, my wife said, honey, she goes, you know, you should have done this, this, and this. And I said, well, I was working. She goes, you were on your phone. I said, I know, but that's how I work. That's the whole thing is I'm looking for content and information.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people understand that this is not a vanity project for Isaiah and I. We're not looking for accolades. We're not looking for fame. We're not looking for anything. What we're looking for, the carrot at the end or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for Isaiah and I is to see change happen. That's it. That's why Isaiah ran for alderman.
I got kids.
I got kids. We actually do care about this country. As we celebrate our 250th anniversary tomorrow, we do want to see we love the country. We think it's fantastic. I love America, but I think it's moving in the wrong direction. I think corruption is beginning to take over. I think it's taking over at a level that if it was there, I didn't recognize it. I'm beginning to recognize corruption at a level I didn't understand. And I just want to say, you know what? If we're going to fix it, we should do it together. We should make our lives a little bit better. We should bring family closer together. We should get as many people in the game as possible so that we can make great things happen and do it together and make it fun.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to be able to send my kids out and let them ride their bike or go play in the creek,
the way it
play in
should
mud
be.
like I did.
True freedom.
You know? Yeah, that's what I was doing when I was a kid in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I know even then, you know, our parents had already thought like, oh, I wish it was like it was when I was a kid, right?
Yep. Did you see Tom? I didn't know Tom was at sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Tom said saw you at the Cuba meeting. We appreciated what you said. See, that was really Cuba. And I told my wife, I said, honey, I'm a hard worker by nature. Even when I don't want to do things, I sign up for things that I know I don't want to do, that I know I'm going to be tired. I'm going to work 12 hours and then I'll sign up to give like the MC. I mean, I was exhausted, Isaiah. I had to stop and almost take a nap driving home because I was so tired getting home. And then I knew I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do the show again. And I had to prepare for it when I got home.
Yeah.
Right. But I put myself in those positions because I think if I outwork people, I'll get to the top of the hill faster. That's the way I've always looked at life. That's what my dad taught me when I was growing up. That's what my mom taught me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So if I was in Missouri more often, which is what I was talking to my wife about the other day, I said, if I was in Missouri more often, and maybe I could do it in Florida. I'm starting to make contacts in Florida as well. I said, but if I go out and tell people what we can do, what I'm seeing, who I've talked to, what the pitfalls are, what the media is doing, and really kind of explain things from my perspective and answer questions, ask questions, get to the bottom of certain scenarios, I think what people will start to recognize is there is hope.
Yep.
We can do these things. We do work amongst our peers. The people in the state of Missouri, some of these politicians that I've been very rough on, Isaiah, I have been so rough on Rick Bratton and Tom Estes. It's almost unbelievable how I just have been brutal on those two men. And they came up to me at Osage and they're trying to make peace. That is what Missouri ultimately is all about. Now people say, well, they're trying to bring, listen to me. I'm going to tell people what I see. Nobody's going to change my opinion on things. I mean,
you think they're going to be like, ooh, Rob, all of a sudden you're going to be a different person now.
We've talked about that 1,000 times. I'm going to be as cordial as anybody is to me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to change my opinion on amendments. It doesn't mean I'm going to change my opinion on what goes on with the elections or accountability or Jeff Winehouse or any of the stories that we cover. It just means that I don't have to fist fight everybody in order to get my point across. And I want you to hear from them. If they're BS artists, you're going to pick it up. This is another stuff people used to get on me about, Isaiah. When I did radio, I would bring in certain politicians or something, and I would get feedback that I wasn't tough enough on them. And I said, and I'd say, well, what did you learn? Well, he was lying about this. He was lying about that. And she was, and I said, right. You saw that, right? I said, what you're thinking is that the audience is stupid and I have to make sure that they know everything that I see. I said, if you see these people and they have to answer questions and your sixth sense is, that's a crappy answer. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I said, I'm trying to get out of them what you need to know, but I don't want to tell you how to think all the time.
Yep.
I don't think that's good. I don't think that that's what journalism isn't telling you how to think. Journalism is giving you the true skinny on what you see and then letting people make a decision. I like to give you my opinion on things, but I don't ask you to say, Rob, if you don't hold my opinion, I don't want to be friends with you. You can have a different opinion than me. I expect you to have a different opinion than me on occasion, right? I mean, good Lord, we're not, we shouldn't be walking in lockstep.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to.
Everyone's got to have a different opinion.
Right.
I like what you were saying earlier. You were saying about doing the, doing those hard things and that you didn't want to do it. And it reminded me of something that my a pastor told me. So this is a good friend of mine who's an executive pastor at the a mega church here, the biggest church in St. Louis. And the lead pastor told him one time that he's standing there and he's getting ready to go on stage, right, and preach. And they do 6 or 7 services. So this pastor is exhausted, by the time he gets to one of these last services.
Yeah.
And so the lead pastor turns to this other pastor and he tells him, he goes, "Hey, I just want you to know that I don't want to do this." And so the other pastor looks at the lead pastor. He goes, "So what do we need to figure? What do I need to go up there?" And he goes, "No, I'm telling you that because I'm going to go up there. I'm going to preach right now, but I want you to know that I don't want to do this right now, but I'm going to do it." And I was like, "That's really good." It was a leadership lesson that he was trying to teach. And I was like, man, I respect that, because and he's not telling the whole church that, right? It was a private, intimate conversation, whispering to someone that's a confidant for him, his number 2, right? And he's trying to teach him that, hey, you see, I don't want to do this. I just preached 7 services and I don't want to get up there right now. I could tell you to get up there to do this, right? And he didn't say that, but
I'll
he could,
muscle through.
right? Yeah, I'm going to muscle through it.
Well, to your point, I don't know this pastor very well, but I will say this: performing in front of an audience, even if it's for an hour or 2 hours, a live audience where you have live people looking at you, at least from my experience, is incredibly exhausting. And I'll tell you,
he talks about it all the time, how hard it is.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just give people my experience with it. When you are performing in front of a live audience, and I don't mean performance in the sense that you're putting on a show, but you are trying to communicate with people. And sometimes that communication is motivational, right? You're trying to motivate people. Sometimes you're trying to be very sober with them and say, look, these are some of the things I see going on in the state of Missouri that we need to address. Sometimes it's to invoke anger, invoke sadness, invoke humor. And you're trying to communicate with people so they stay with you. You can look around at your audience. I look when I'm doing any kind of presentation where there's 50 or more people, I look out in the audience and I kind of can get a feel for how many people are paying attention. You can kind of see whether everybody is looking at you in the eyes or whether they're looking down at the table, whether they're talking to their friends. You kind of gather whether you are communicating in a fashion that draws the attention to yourself. And if you're a public speaker, you want all eyes on you because you're up there to get a point across, right?
Yeah.
That method of trying to keep everybody involved in your conversation or your presentation is exhausting. I don't know what it is. I tell my wife all the time, I get off of this show and most of the time I'll eat a sandwich or something and I just crash because I want to make sure that every word comes out properly, that I don't say something stupid, that I don't get the wrong facts or the wrong names. So I'm constantly and I talk fast by nature. My mind works in a rhythm that's
you don't
quick,
say
right?
GW instead of G.
It's a perfect example. That aggravates me when I do that, right? It bugs me. It does.
I know it does.
And the reason it's so exhausting is because you're on, right? When you're in sales, you know what on means, right? You go into an account, you might have to be there for a couple hours, but you're on. Now you're Robb Carter, the salesperson. You're not Robb Carter hanging out with your wife with a glass of wine,
Just
right?
droopy, hanging out on the couch.
You're
Yeah.
completely on. Everybody's going to ask you questions. You got to sell something. You got to be on. When you're on, and it's exhausting when you turn it off. And that is just the nature of the game. Jake Jackson talking about, he had an interview recently with Scott Fawn.
Really cool.
Missouri, you know who Scott Fawn is if you're into Missouri politics. He said, some people expressed doubts about me interviewing with Scott Fawn. This is what I mean. I would say to Jake, that's how it works, right? Because people, and they might be right. I'm not saying they're wrong. They think that you shouldn't communicate with people they have deemed as being on the wrong side of things. I see it completely opposite. I come it through the, and this is me with what I'm learning from Jesus. Right? Is that you can tell me where I'm wrong. I want my enemies. First of all, you got to love your enemies, right? And that's what the Bible says. Love your enemies. I want to love them, number one, but I want to change their viewpoint. I want them to see the world through the lens of the people that are fighting against them. I don't want them to see us as enemies. When I was going on social media, and I'm way off the target of where I was going to talk about today, but I think this is a good time. It's Friday. July 4th is tomorrow.
Free Speech Friday, Rob. We get 250th year. We can still say what we want. Thankfully,
as long as it's still free to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
and I didn't even know what I was going to say right there. I was getting
sorry.
into. That's all right. I was getting into.
We were talking about Jake Jackson, and we were talking about Scott Fawn.
Oh, the love of Jesus and the way Jesus.
Yeah, the
would
love
look
of
at it.
Jesus. Yeah.
The reason I want to communicate with people I disagree with is because I want to change their point of view. Right? If you have a solidified swamp in Jefferson City, you're going to have to change the minds of some of the people who are working against the grassroots. You're going to have to change the minds of those who are working against you. You're going to have to not be their enemy, but be their competitor. Remember when Donald Trump said China's not our enemy, it's our competitor? That's how I see people that disagree with me on any particular issue. I see them as competition for me. And I want to sway that competition in line with my thinking. And if they're charlatans, if they're bad people, maybe God intervenes at some point. If they don't intervene, I have to expose them. But it's not for me to recognize that they've been exposed. It's for the audience to recognize they've been exposed. I've already determined that some of these people are complete BS artists, right? I already recognize that they are, and I haven't even met them. My take on them, watching their voting record and how they communicate to their constituents, is that they're completely full of BS. And they work in tandem with the Republican Party and or the Democrat Party. They just are there. It's like a group of thieves working together to solidify everything they want to get accomplished, and they pull the wool over the eyes of the citizens and the people that vote.
I love the Facebook posts inside the conservative groups where people are like, I don't understand who's saying that voting no on Amendment 5 is the conservative thing to do, or you got to vote yes on Amendment 5. And you see all these posts, and I click on their profile, and then I look in there, and it's like, oh, this guy works for Eric Burleson.
Right.
Oh, this guy is a legislative assistant in Jefferson City.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's like, oh, wait, this isn't organic. This is.
That's where but that's where I lose my temper. See, that's where people who know me say when I used to lose my temper on you've been a very calming influence on me, Isaiah. But when I used to lose my temper on the radio all the time, it is when I know people are full of it. I've been alerted as to what they're all about. And then not only do they absolutely jam it in there in the tail end of the voters of Missouri, but then they try to gaslight you for calling them out. And that is when I get frustrated. And that is when I start to lose I'm getting better. I have been much better, but that's when I get a little hot under the collar, is when I think that you're being gaslit from people that you've already determined are full of it, and you can kind of prove it by their voting record, how they sold themselves, what they told the grassroots, how they're treating you at this particular point, what they're saying about you, trying to start rumors. That's when I get a little fussy. That's the right word.
Mm-hmm. This is from
Jennifer Bird says, I got Scott Fawn's dad and friends into the Trump event at the Peabody in 2016 when Phyllis Schlafly endorsed him. LOL. Scott is pure establishment. He was the bag man in the Greitens takedown. That's the way I understand the story of Scott Fawn. That's the way I understand as well. But people told me that from the very beginning. He was the one that was putting forth the money to upend the Greitens governorship in the state of Missouri. I don't know a lot about him. Maybe someday I'll get Scott Fawn on the show. I don't know if he'd come on and talk to me or not. Who knows? But I'd love to have him on because I'd like to get to the bottom of what he's all about, right? What makes him tick? How did he get into buying newspapers in the state of Missouri? Because he does feel like a little bit of a mouthpiece.
How did he buy Robb Jetton's newspaper?
Yeah, you told me about that. I sent you a picture. Who is that guy, Robb Jettons? You made mention of him the other day. Who is that?
Robb Jetton. He is he's the former Speaker of the House, and and I think he is he either, I don't know if he works for a senator or representative right now. I think he has just like a PR organization, like a marketing and crisis relations organization, because he wrote some books. He he was drinking and chasing women when he was in the House, and that was a big problem with him, and he had all these moral failures, and that's why he didn't continue in politics. But he rehabilitated himself. He wrote a book, and now he figured out how to do kind of crisis management, which is essentially what he just went through. So he does have experience in it, going through a crisis and repairing things. So it's a good gig for him because he knows it firsthand.
All right.
But it's interesting that he was everywhere in Jeff City when I'm there. People are talking to him. He's endorsing Trisha Burns, things like that. So
Rod Jetton got charged.
Oh yeah. Yep. He also got charged for a few crimes. Yeah.
I'll have Trish on. So Missouri politics, I think what I want to do, Isaiah, is I'm starting to understand a little bit more about the audience. Starting to understand how to organize it so that we're getting if we're going to promote the show, if it's going to be Missouri politics on a certain day, or it's going to be national politics, or it's going to be about a certain subject. I'm starting to understand how to promote it just a little bit better. So when we talk Missouri politics, I think Facebook is a good vehicle for Missouri politics. So I'll start doing a little bit more with Missouri politics. We'll talk about, because we got big things coming up.
Best. Yeah. It's going to be the best.
Right. I don't know if it's great for overall,
It doesn't matter. It's, each one's got its own,
its own audience. Exactly.
Yeah. Each one's got its own, and intricacies and how you can use it to your advantage. You know what I mean?
And I want to show how they tie together. I mean, it's one of the big things to me is how they are tied together. It's state, local, and federal politics, and even international politics. If you just pay attention to them, a lot of the same techniques, a lot of the things that start in DC filter themselves down into not just state politics, but even local politics. You're seeing that with the AI data centers. You're getting to watch how that just staggers it down right into your backyard. And I want people to see those things over time. That's why I talk about so many different things. Some people don't like it when I get off Missouri politics. Some people don't like Missouri politics at all. It just depends on where you're coming from. We cover everything. If you're not in Missouri, and I'm talking Missouri politics, if you're into what's going on in the world, it'd be very enlightening to you, because when I say it's happening in Missouri, it's happening in your state. That's a fact. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Yes. Down here real fast.
That's the fact, Jack. That's a fact, Jack.
The same things that are happening in Missouri are happening everywhere. So when I say we're talking Missouri politics, you could say, well, I'm talking West Virginia politics.
Yeah. And it seems that the Missouri establishment somehow has a segue to the Trump administration establishment.
Oh yeah.
So there's a reason you want to pay attention to Missouri, right? There's a reason you want to pay attention to Florida, right? And Arizona for elections, for example, right? There's all these hot spots that you kind of want to pay attention to a little bit more, because of the unknown influence they have over your lives. Iowa is another one that I hear a lot about.
Oh yeah. The middle of the country is really popular right now because we're talking about food and farming. So all this and mineral resources and everything else, and a lot of that is grown and produced out of the Midwest. So now you're starting to see international politics and even national politics honed in on the Midwest. So it's a good time to be in the Midwest to fight off these people. In my opinion, I'd like to fight them off. I don't want to get in bed with them, but to expose them would be really nice, and then have the pushback. We have that the lady that talked the AI. What was her name?
Dana.
Well, Dana was one of them. Who was the original one that came on? Anna Ferrar. Right? Was it Anna? Let me look her up.
I do remember her. Yep.
I think it was Ferrar.
Yep.
Anna Ferrar. Yeah. So she used to come on and talk, and she was one of the first ones that told me what was going on with the AI data centers before anybody was even talking about it. And she kind of filled me in on how the whole thing was playing out. I'm like, well, this is a federal thing. She said, yeah. And you should see how it worked out. And she got really deep into it. We actually did a People's Lobby Missouri meeting with her. And as I said, it started federal, talking about AI data centers, talking about Stargate, first day of Donald Trump's presidency, talking about Catherine Austin Fitts predicting it. And then all of a sudden, in no time, it was making its way through the communities of Missouri. And now if you were listening to the show and were paying attention, you had some idea it was coming. If you weren't, I don't know. I mean, how many people are watching the Stargate thing from start to finish like we were? Not everybody. Right. So when you see these things, you start to recognize a pattern that is happening in the country that we have to address. All right. I got to get to this because I need to get a portion of the show that says I told you so.
Yeah. Well, I do want to 3 minutes till the next hour. Let me ask you about this question really quick. I do want it's about data centers. And I just want to ask you, because it was the Florida governor's debate. I don't know if you saw this part, but they were debating about, Jay Collins is debating Fishback there on data centers. Fishback believes that the state, the governor needs to ban data centers. Collins said, hey, we don't need to do that. DeSantis set up guardrails, right? That's what we need to do. We need to let the local people figure it out. But Fishback said something that really resonated with me. And I think it'll resonate a lot with a lot of people in Missouri too, is he said, hey, no, the state needs to do something because we did let the local governments try to do that. But they're not listening to the people. The people are overwhelmingly coming out and telling them that they don't want data centers, and then they're still voting to let the data centers be built. He goes,
that's when the state comes in. But
that's why the state needs to come in and do something. And I was like, that's a great argument. Because they're arguing, he's like, we don't want the federal reaching into the state. We don't want the state reaching into the local. And I was like, that is a great argument, though, to understand
why.
Collins
is totally bought off by the people buying the AI data centers. You can tell by the conversation. I know
he couldn't even say Flock was bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I know people aren't paying attention to Florida politics. I was paying attention to it last night. There was Patrick Bet David did a debate with who was it? It was Paul Renner. Who's
I
the
felt
former
like it was a
Speaker of the
debate that
House.
you would have kind of like you would have had one. You know what I mean? It was more,
Totally.
yeah,
Totally. And he's I thought it was actually a pretty well run debate. I thought it was actually pretty good. And I'm not a huge Patrick Bet David fan necessarily, but I thought that debate was done quite well. And I thought it showed where everybody stood on the issues. When I leave, I'm like, okay, what was my impression of these people? And Jay Collins is the one that would have been out for me. I would have been a Jay Collins out of there. He's not my style. But Paul Renner and Fishback are still in the game for me.
man. You see, Ann Vandersteel was there. She got on
Oh,
the
yeah.
camera a few times. Yeah,
I'll get Ann on here before long to give us her take. She's a big Paul Renner fan.
I put a post out last night that because I'm a big Fishback fan.
Yep.
And but we've interviewed Paul Renner, and that was something we had talked about, is that I feel like their policies are very similar. It's just how they're communicating to the people.
I think that's what they say.
And yeah, last night I watched it. I put this out on a post on X. I said, man, I'm a Fishback fan, but after watching that debate, I've become a huge Paul Renner fan, because he was the only one on the stage who was talking legislation, who's talking, this is what we've done before. This is the legislation that's passed. This is what we've done. This is how it's affected the people. This is how it's working now, right? And when Patrick Bet David asked him a question, he's like, well, let me clarify, because this is what we've done already, and this is what we've done, and this is what we did for veterans. This is what I passed when I was the Speaker House. And I was like, man, he's the only one there. Jay Collins didn't even have anything as lieutenant governor that he's talking about that he's done. You know what I mean?
Paul Renner in Missouri would really get excited about this. He's a grassroots guy who made it into the position of Speaker of the House. Does that make sense? That doesn't really happen anywhere anymore. You don't see really the grassroots people get into that position, because what he wanted to do was decentralize the power of the state of Florida. He wanted to decentralize the power, and he talked about it, and he got a lot of it done. When he was on the show, I said, here in Missouri, the Republican Party picks the Speaker of the House before they even get reelected. He said, yeah, I stopped that practice. So now when I go to the people in Missouri and I say, well, wait a minute, you tell me this is just the way it is, and Rob, you just don't understand how great it is, and this, that, and the other. I said, well, why did the former Speaker of the House change that methodology in Florida? Why did he do it? He saw an ill with it. I see an ill with it. I think anybody who understands.
Maybe that's why the Lord moved you to Florida, is to discover that, so you could root it out here in Missouri.
God moves me wherever he wants to take me.
I told you I'd only derail you for 3 minutes. So.
All right. Let's get to Tucker Carlson, because I just want to do some I told you so's, right? Yes. So what was it? 3 days ago, we said, who is JD Vance? We put out a show, who is JD Vance? And we're going to do more and more of these shows. And I hope that people will pay attention to them. If you're in this audience, the problem I have is I sometimes feel like I'm preaching to the choir, because I've talked about these stories before and they know where I'm coming from. But as the show grows and more people start to pay attention to it, as the clips get out there in a meaningful way, which is starting to happen now, we'll get the clips out there.
Even some of your old friends, right? We just had someone who said, Rob, I've been your friend for lifelong, and you just took me somewhere I've never gone before in the last 3 hours. I finally gave you the 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And he's living up in Boston, as a matter of fact. I would assume that's where he's from. He's up from the Northeast. But when we're talking about JD Vance, as soon as we talk about it 2 or 3 days ago, right? You just said that Owen Schroyer was talking about, I'm communicating with Owen. I'm trying to get him on the show. We're emailing back and forth. He kind of ghosts me. Then he comes out of the blue and says, when is your show? And it kind of been going back and forth. But I want to get Owen Schroyer on because he was with InfoWars and he's from Missouri. And I happen to think Owen is incredibly talented for a young guy. So I want to get him on the show. But he was talking about something that we were talking about with Charles Manson the other day, right? I don't even know if we put it on the air, but he's on the same, if he didn't get the influence from here, we were still on the same conversation about Charles Manson.
The exact same clip he played is, if we didn't play it, we had it ready to play, right. And he played the exact same clip. I was like, this is crazy.
I couldn't remember if I played it this morning, but I want to give people a sense of it. So he was talking about Tucker Carlson, and I want to say this about Tucker Carlson very quickly. I believe that Tucker Carlson is difficult to figure out. I'm not a naysayer of Tucker Carlson necessarily, but when he says certain things, I know that he's not being truthful, and it's very difficult. I want to get clip number 8, Isaiah. I think you put up, yeah, that's Owen. I want to do clip 8. Should be Fuentes. When I look at Tucker Carlson, because I studied Tucker Carlson really hard, because I happen to think he does a terrific job on his show. I like the pace. I like his clarity. I like his monologues. I believe that he can read script about as good as anybody. And at certain times, that's a real compliment, right? Because you're trying to read something and you're looking at it going, how do I express this and read it in a proper manner so that it communicates well, right? It's not easy to do. I'm telling you, it ain't easy. It ain't easy for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But when he talks about JD Vance, when he talks about his not knowing that his father was in the CIA, these things don't make any sense to me. They just don't make any sense. So I I go back to Shiva, where he calls him, starts with an F, Tucker Carlson, right? And he says he's just a part of the machine. He's one of these guys that's going to tell you all the things that you want to hear. He's going to mix in some misinformation. He kind of describes what he thinks Tucker Carlson is doing. And I see that. I recognize that. When somebody brings it to your attention, you start to look for it like, well, yeah, he's right. He is doing some of these things that he told me he was going to do. That doesn't mean that Tucker Carlson doesn't say things that are real. Doesn't mean that Tucker doesn't say things that I don't believe in. It just means that when Tucker Carlson is on the right page, I'm going to give you that information. It does not mean it's an endorsement for him. I got to continue.
Yeah, he asks the best questions.
It's really good.
Because he knows he already knows the answer to the questions he's asking.
He's been around the game a long time.
Yeah, but he allows himself to ask the questions. A lot of people I've found, when they know the answer, they don't ask the question.
Right. He was born into the CIA, born into it,
Yeah.
right? Been around CNN and Fox News and the political establishment there in Washington, D.C. his entire life. That is Tucker Carlson. So we're talking about a very, I would say he is a very informed person. We just have to figure out what he's trying to get accomplished. That's where we're at with Tucker Carlson. Right now, he says he's going to be involved in a third party.
Yeah.
I think we need a third party. Everybody says, oh, Rob, you're crazy. You got to reform the Republican Party. I said, listen, one more argument before we get into Tucker Carlson. The argument is we're going to reform the Republican Party. And I see this from friends of mine in the Republican Party that are running as Republicans. There are more Republicans, or I should say this, there are more rhinos and establishment hacks that represent the Republican Party than traditional Republicans in the state of Missouri. And you can see that by the voting record. So when you say you want to reform the Republican Party in your mind is no longer the Republican Party. Right? All the players have changed. So when you changed all the players out, now they don't even care about the platform. They sabotaged the caucuses in 2024, the Missouri caucus. We all remember that, right? We've talked about that endlessly. That's why we had Josh Lehman on the other day. There is no more Republican Party in the way that we perceive it to be. That is gone. It's bye-bye. It doesn't exist anymore. So when you say that you want to reform it, I'm like, reform what? They've infiltrated it so much and they have such control over it. How do you think you're going to get it back? And that's not just with the people they elect. That's with all the committees. That's with everything involved is corrupted, in my opinion, within the Republican Party. That doesn't mean there aren't great people in it. There are, but they're way outnumbered in the state of Missouri. So when people come out and say they want a third party, I happen to agree with them. I'd rather have 35% of something that is genuine and returns power back to the people than having the left and the right in the Republican Party, right? The Democrats and the Republicans misleading me continually for 50 years. I need a party that gets away from that nonsense, the left-right paradigm all the time. I want a party that squeezes itself in the middle. I'd rather have 35% of a vote of independent thinkers that are trying to make the country better based on the Constitution than being misled by the left and the right within the Democrat and Republican Party. But that's just me, and I think that's what Tucker Carlson is trying to get out now. Okay? Here is what Fuentes had to say about him, however, because he's been getting off on Nick Fuentes. We all know Nick Fuentes, right? He is very outspoken, very brilliant. Tucker Carlson said, I think he's a Fed. You brought it up, Isaiah. You said Nick Fuentes may be a Fed because on January 6th, when the grand unarmed insurrection led by a guy dressed as a Viking, as I like to say, right? When that was going down, Fuentes was there. Apparently, he was telling people to go into the Capitol building, right? They arrested a ton of people, but they didn't arrest Nick Fuentes. So Tucker Carlson and many others who are watching this all play out say, wait a minute, here's a guy that was on camera telling people to go into the Capitol building, yet they didn't arrest him, but they were arresting grandmothers and military members and everything else. Does that maybe mean that Nick Fuentes got a free pass because he was a Fed? That's the question, and that is the accusation that is being implied by Tucker Carlson against Nick Fuentes. So Nick Fuentes had to come out and respond, and I think he hit it right on the head talking about Tucker Carlson. This is clip number 8. Check it out.
However, that Tucker Carlson is back at it again trying to Fed jacket me. He released a video a few hours ago talking about January 6th. And once again, he's saying it's so weird that Nick Fuentes never got arrested. This old man wants to smoke, and I'm going to give it to him. Okay, because clearly, let's just be honest. I am in a proxy war with J.D. Vance, and Tucker Carlson is the proxy for Vance. That is what is going on here. It could not be more obvious that there is a huge push for JD Vance. JD Vance is the candidate of Palantir and Peter Thiel and the little tech PayPal mafia. Everybody knows that. And it is so obvious that whatever that thing is, Tucker Carlson is a part of it. We all know that. And it's obvious whenever he is asked about any of this, whenever he is asked about JD Vance, whenever he is asked about Palantir, he turns into a completely different person. Because if you watch his show every other day of the week, and I said this last week too, but if you watch Tucker's show any day of the week, he is so credulous about every conspiracy theory. He had a guest on and they talked about how psychics use their telekinetic abilities to see inside military bases where the military has actual giants walking around with the rest of the soldiers. Like that he believes in. He brings on an exorcist to talk about how he exorcised Satan, Beelzebub, and Lucifer from an individual, which I think is real, by the way. He brings on guests that talk about flat earth, that talk about aliens, that talk about ancient aliens and how there are alien spacecraft underneath the ocean that will then emerge from the sea to spy on nuclear bases. Like, this is what is the regular fare on Tucker's show. And then somebody asks him about Palantir, and he says, oh, I don't know anything about that. I have to plead ignorance. And you go, really? So you believe in MK Ultra, and you believe in ritualistic satanic abuse, and you believe in deep underground military bases, and you believe in aliens, and you believe in Nephilim, and you believe... Oh, but Palantir, which is a top 10 tech company by market cap, Palantir, which was brought into this administration with Doge to 4 departments and agencies to digest all of Americans' data, education, healthcare, tax, social security data is all being fed into the Gotham platform from Palantir. You don't know anything about that? I find that hard to believe. And he's asked about JD Vance, who's equally as suspicious. As you know, Vance is a creation of Peter Thiel. Vance is funded by Palantir and Peter Thiel. And Tucker says, that's my best friend. He is the most morally upstanding man I know. All he cares about is God, his wife, his family, and his country. The glaze is mythical. Tucker Carlson is doing literal tricks on it, somersaults. He is doing reverse cowgirl, giggling and slipping it back in with JD Vance, doing absolute tricks, mythical.
I don't care what anybody says. That is one talented dude, man. He is
hilarious.
Really what he does. I got to give him credit for it. But he makes the point that we just made the other day, Isaiah.
Yeah, he said, this old man wants to smoke.
And he goes, this old man wants to smoke. I'm going to give it to him. But what he talked about is what we just talked about, what we spent an hour on it the other day. And we said, who is JD Vance? Because a lot of people, and I listen to the radio shows, right? You know, I still listen to 93.3. I listen to News Talk. I still pay attention to them just to see what their agenda is, you know, what they're trying to talk about. And what I'm noticing with the radio stations is they start to talk about who's going to be the next president. And it's always Rubio or JD Vance. And what I notice among Republican circles is they just happen to love JD Vance. And I don't know if it's because of the relationship with Donald Trump. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe he's cute and handsome, and maybe he says the things where he tickles them where they like to be tickled. But who is JD Vance?
Mm-hmm.
When somebody shows on the scene out of nowhere, and within 10 years, they're going to run for president of the United States, and you go, wait a minute, how did he pop up there? And then you find out that it's all funded by Peter Thiel, who owns Palantir. Palantir was funded by In-Q-Tel, which is an investment arm of the CIA. You might just go, wait a minute, I thought we were going to drain the swamp. This doesn't feel like draining the swamp. If the CIA is propping up JD Vance by Peter Thiel and Palantir, then is that what the American citizens want, is another CIA guy at the top of the food chain here in America? Is that what they want? Do you think you're going to get anything done with that?
Yeah.
No, you're not going to get anything done with that.
No, I think we watched this the other day talking about the theory that JD Vance will be the one to bring the anti-establishment crew back into the fold within the establishment, right? And which makes 100% sense because he's an outspoken isolationist, which is kind of the opposite of what Trump is doing, right?
Hmm?
And so he can come out and kind of say these
Position
things.
himself.
Position himself. That's a great way to say it, right?
Politics.
And then bring these people back and saying like, okay, hey, Trump wasn't able to get it done, but look at this guy. He's going to be able to get it done, right? And he's a younger guy, which is what people have talked about before, is just wanting someone younger in the Republican Party because that's what we're losing to the Democrats on. But I saw you're throwing Michael's comment.
Yeah, that's what he says.
I think he's a representative, right, in the Missouri House.
I like that he pays attention. So Michael Burton says, I used to watch Tucker Carlson on CNN, and when he had his own show on MSNBC, and I actually liked him then he moved to Fox News, and he really changed to a more of a propaganda. See, this is what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'll give you my 2 cents on this, Michael Burton. So Michael Burton, I think, is he a Democrat lawmaker?
Yep.
In Missouri? He says his text messages show he knew the 2020 election wasn't stolen, even though he was telling his audience the opposite every night. Absolutely true. He said, let's be very clear. Nick Fuentes is a self-admitted white supremacist. What do you take on that? Because you know him better than I do. All I'll say, Michael Burton, is I'm not a Nick Fuentes fan necessarily. I got to meet Nick Fuentes at a rally in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't know what to make of him necessarily. I'm not an advocate for Nick Fuentes. I'm talking about pure talent, the ability to sit in front of a camera for 2 hours at a time and captivate the imagination of an audience takes talent, whether it's good or bad. It does take talent. And he's incredibly talented. And in this particular instance, when he's talking about Tucker Carlson and JD Vance, I happen to agree.
Yeah. I think it's people's impressions based off of, just the clips and everything like that, because Nick Fuentes is one of those people that, he early on, before he was even radical, he was canceled for being a Trump supporter at Boston University. And it just got worse and worse. And so then he's finally like, all right, if you're just going to ruin my life, what do I have to lose, basically? And that's why he's so boisterous, and kind of over the top, is because he knows he's doing that. And it's performative, which is a thing like I think that most people don't think it's performative, but it is performative, and he'll admit that. And he's, there's plenty of things on record of him talking about Hitler being terrible, the Holocaust was bad. He acknowledges those things. It's just the joking that people can't, because there was a joke like about, cookies being baked in the oven, and he was like joking about that. And so that means then they're like, oh, well, he denies the Holocaust happened, right? Because he's joking about it, and he doesn't deny that the Holocaust happened. He might question some of the numbers that are presented, which I think anyone is allowed to question.
And Michael will like this. He's telling people to vote for Democrats.
Yeah, and he's telling people to vote for Democrats.
Yes, he's telling people to vote for Democrats.
And Michael said he is very talented. I think that's really good. I think that's great that Michael does. Michael seems like a very reasonable person.
We met him. I didn't get a chance to really say much to him. We were in the elevator with him.
We should do a.
We'll come down and we'll. Yeah, just because you're listening, we appreciate that very much. We'll come down. We'll have a conversation with you. Listen, I don't think all Democrats are bad. In fact, Elon Gross will be on the show here before too long. He ran for attorney general. I don't see the world through left and right anymore. I did. You still might, Michael. I don't see it that way. I see it as we have to solve problems together. You may have a different look at the way culture should be established in America. I may have a different view of that. Doesn't mean I don't respect your opinion or think you're stupid and I'm smart. I don't see it that way. I think life experience is what determines how you see the world, right? My life experience tells me that I'm a little bit more conservative, libertarian. I do not like big government, Michael. I don't like you guys having all that money. I think when you give big money, I'm sure you're not a big fan of what the Republican establishment is doing. And that's the same. That's the situation we're in, right? We don't think that governments should have that much power. We think they should be very limited, out of our way. We don't like all the laws and the fees and the intrusion into your life. That's where we come from.
Yeah, well, you're crazy lefty communist if you don't want the Amendment 5 to pass.
Yeah, I would assume he's not for 5. I don't know that we're for 5. We're going to have Ben Keithley on the show and talk about Amendment 5. But, I think that you can get your point across. I think sometimes you got to raise your voice and get mad. Politics is a nasty game, right? Sometimes you got to do it. But for the most part, where there's willing participants, we just need to communicate, right? Yeah. It's not kumbaya necessarily, but you can't get anything done if people aren't communicating with one. In my opinion, that's just my take. That comes from a business background, not a political background.
That's what Jake was saying with about Scott Fahn when he was getting attacking him, and it's just like I think Jake is, learning that too. Is that hey, no, I have to talk to people to hear what they have to say.
As he said it's one of the most prominent platforms in the state of Missouri. Why would I not go on there? And by the way, his girlfriend was sitting in the back seat with a t-shirt on. I said, bring it on. I like it.
Scott was
here's Michael.
hilarious.
This is what I mean. And where did we come up with Michael? I know we can't talk to you right now, but you came across him. You're the one that brought him to my attention. Because when we got out of the elevator, you go, that was Michael Burton.
Mhm.
I said, how do we know Michael Burton? Was it somebody you met, or was he watching the show?
No, he's been watching the show before, and so I don't think I had put two and two together, and then I saw him in the elevator. And I was like, "That's."
But look
wait.
what he's saying. See what I mean? He's on the same page with us.
Yeah.
That might be why he's listening. This is Michael Burton. He's a legislator, Democrat in the state of Missouri. He said, I'm willing to work with anyone. It's not right versus left. It's more ultra wealthy versus the rest of us. That's exactly how we see it, Michael. We should be working together because that's how we see it.
Yeah.
We see it the exact same way. And if that makes me not conservative, then maybe I'm not conservative anymore. I don't see that we should have class wars all the time where the wealthy get all the money and the bottom half gets screwed all the time. I don't think that's a good situation for citizens in the state of Missouri. I don't see it that way, right?
Yep.
And I don't think that makes me not conservative. It just makes me say that I don't, I've been on both sides of it. I've been wealthy, upper middle class wealthy, right? And I've been at the bottom where I made in 2024, Isaiah, I made $7,100.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh,
I made more money at age 12 years old selling newspaper subscriptions door to door than I did at age 54 years old because I was rebuilding my career because COVID shut down my entire life.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Wait a minute.
There's so many jobs, there's so many jobs gone now. It's crazy that we're good paying jobs before. We talk about that all the time, right?
It's the whole world.
I think you said like your uncle or someone was a janitor, right?
No, that was he raised me. It was my uncle. But when my parents got divorced, he was a janitor at the YMCA. And this is the late 70s, right? Janitor at the YMCA in Kansas City. I lived in a middle-class neighborhood with a 3-bedroom house. We had all the food and clothes that we needed. We had a great family environment and a great life. And he was a janitor who supported his wife, who did not work, and 2 children. You couldn't do that anymore. That's not possible. Are there any janitors out there that are supporting 3 people in a middle-class life with 2 cars and everything's working out just fine for them? Is anybody doing that?
Maybe if they're sending all their money back to Mexico.
Maybe.
That's the only way I could see it, is if you're working in our economy and then all your money's going back to an economy where it's worth more. That's the only way I see it happen. Not in our economy, not supporting an American family here, right?
Will you put our I'm listening to you, but I'm reading Michael Burton. Michael, I'd love to have you on.
Text this number, Michael.
Michael, get in touch with us. We'll have you on. I want to have more Democrats on the show anyway. I know that makes my Republican friends crazy, but I do want to have a more diverse conversation. I want to see where you're coming from. And if we can work together, we can work together. I mean, I'm good at getting
we got right, left, independent. We got them all.
Yeah. We want more people in the fold. I don't want to hate Democrats. I have a lot of friends in my life that are Democrats. I don't want to hate them because they have a different view of the world than me. I just don't. I got to get over that. Fox News talked me into that for a while. I got friends that listen to this show that absolutely hate Democrats. They won't even talk to a Democrat. They've abolished them from their lives. They won't even have anything to do with them. I'm like, you can't do that, man. What are you doing?
I think that everyone associates Democrats with the Democrat Socialists of America now, because it is more prevalent than it used to be.
We're getting
but
to that.
That doesn't mean that every single Democrat is a socialist or wants a Zohran Mamdani city. You know what I mean? That's not. It's not. They're not. It's just like not every right winger is not as extreme as Nick Fuentes, right? So it's the same.
Yeah.
But it's always rules for thee and not for me, though, Rob. That's how it is.
I'm gonna bring this into thee because this is your clip right here that we're getting ready to play because we're on Tucker Carlson. Now he said something. He was giving he was doing his show the other day, and he said something that struck me because I'm going through this process right now. All right, I am somebody who believes in the Lord. Right, I am somebody who prays every day. I start it right here. You can see it right here. You can kind of see where I'm talking about, and then you'll see Jesus, please, right here. I say Jesus, please every day. I say Jesus, please, because of Jesus. That means God, point me in the right direction, put the right people in front of my life, make sure that I stay grateful and I don't get down because things don't go my way. And I want to work through. I want to do things for the right reasons, not for self-absorbed reasons, which is my nature. It is. I'm an only child. Every decision I make, if I don't stay connected to the Lord, is about the well-being of Robb Carter. Does that make sense? I got to stay connected. So when he was talking about churches, he said, the reason he's having trouble with church right now is because he's not trusting the leaders of these churches anymore. And I'm going through this at this moment in time. I'm really thinking about this. I have not been going to church as much as I would like to because I think that the church has become an arm of certain political movements that I am not in alignment with. Primarily, when you talk about the Zionist churches, it is the alignment with Israel. I don't have that same alignment. I don't feel that way. In fact, I'm at the other opposite end of it. So I don't want to go to church where that is shoved down my throat, where I want to stand up and go, that's not true. I don't want to do that. I feel like I'm losing a part of my life that was very important to me, because the people that are running the churches have a completely different worldview than I have. And it's not about Jesus. It's about their interpretation of what the Bible says that I don't agree with that interpretation. Does that make sense? And this is what Tucker Carlson was talking about. And I wanted to get your opinion on this glorious Friday. It's clip number 14. Isaiah, just give me your take on this, because you know the Bible backwards and forwards. This is your thing. What is your take on what Tucker Carlson has to say here? Check this out.
Reasons that I have a lot of trouble going to church is all these Christian leaders are so flawed and so obviously fake. I can't deal with it. It freaks me out. Why is that? Because they're all under spiritual attack. That's why.
They're under spiritual attack.
Yes, they are. Everyone's like, well, why all these Christian ministers, famous Christian ministers have freaky sex lives? Well, why do you think? Because they're under spiritual attack. My college roommate once told me that the second he became a minister, after his first sermon, this woman comes into his office and says, I've had all these marital problems, let's do counseling. And then she hits on him. And he's wise. And he said, I'm never doing that again, because I know now that I've held myself up as, someone people can look to if they want to understand who Jesus is, I'm going to be under attack.
Okay, Isaiah. Remember Paula White, this is spiritual.
Oh, yeah, that's a very wise view.
Let me give this to you. This is the spiritual advisor to the President of the United States. In case we all forget.
Mahanda Rabosoko, Mahanda Agasata, Reke Yamanda Raboko Sokota, Ronda Yakande Eke Seke La Mama Manda Rabakase, Meta Rabakande E La Babakaso.
There you go. All right. So we are saying that the other people are crazy, right? The Iranians are crazy. This person is completely sane.
Mahanda Rabosoko, Mahanda Agasata, Reke Yamanda Raboko Sokota, Ronda Yakande Eke Seke La Mama Manda Rabakase, Meta Rabakande.
Strike. That's fantastic.
Nothing but an opportunist, right? She's an opportunist, and she has a front row seat to the President of the United States as his spiritual advisor. You had Bolaire, remember that woman, the beauty queen that was associated with Donald Trump, who's on the religious committee. She was kicked off for disagreeing with the Zionist point of view, and they just kicked her off this religious committee. This is what's going on. And again, people don't even pay attention to these situations. But what do you say about the church? And what he says is obviously fake people running some of these churches, and he just can't deal with it.
Well, yeah, I think that one, I'll tell everyone, this is a spiritual admonishing. Just because people are not, and this is even for you, Rob, just because people are failures is not an excuse for you not to go to church.
I'm just looking for the right church. I agree with you.
Yeah. No. But that's what people do, is they use that to never go to church. I'm saying I've heard it many times over the years of doing ministry, is that's why they never go to church, is that reason. And so I know that there's people that are probably listening that fall into that category. And I'll say, just because someone is a failure, or just because someone is not perfect, that's not an excuse not to go to church. That's one thing I'll say right away. And then the second thing is, he was saying in there, he has a hard time just going because he feels like they're fake, right?
Yes.
And I think that is a part of what Jesus did warn us about, that there will be people who will seem like it's good on the outside, like you're saying, right? But then on the inside, it's not good. And I think that you have to know your pastor. I think that's really important, to actually know your pastor. I was lucky. I go to a mega church where most people don't know the pastor, Rob. I'm just lucky that I do get to know the pastor, and that's why I still go to that church, is because I do know him intimately. And I know I've been with him I know him when he's mad. I know him when he's upset and angry and yelling at people. You know what I mean? It's like, I've seen him at his worst.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't agree with all of his theology. Right. That's another thing I'll tell you, is that there's never anyone that you're going to find that's a pastor where you're going to agree with everything that they teach. It's impossible.
Right.
And so, and he's a Zionist, right? He's a Zionist. And I'm not necessarily, right? I think that he's not as much of a Zionist as others would be, right? I could definitely, just from knowing him, I could tell you that. But he falls into the pre-tribulation, premillennial, kind of that dispensational theology. That's why he believes that, right? But that doesn't mean that I can't learn something from him. He doesn't teach about that from the stage. He's different where he's not making it about Israel and it's about God's plan and things like that. So he will mention it maybe in passing, but he's not like Ed Young, you know what I mean? Like talking about a whole sermon on, oh, this is God's chosen people and this is why we need to support Israel. That's not what he's doing. And so that's what I appreciate about him, even though I'm just giving you my personal example of, the pastor I don't agree with everything on, right? Politically, some things theologically, but I know that I can still learn how to pursue Jesus is what I'm learning from him, and and he is someone who's okay with people believing different things than him. That's something that attracts me to him as a pastor. I think that most pastors.
What church is yours?
Faith Church.
Faith Church.
Yeah, so Faith Church. And it's a church that'll tell you, Rob, many people will criticize because they think they know the pastors just by watching them on TV. And because there are these pastors on TV, they prejudge them, right?
Yeah.
And I did too. I prejudged this guy myself. And then I got to know him. And then I hung out with him. And then I go to lunch with him. And then I go to his house and I'm hanging out with him at night when he's in his sweatpants, right? And it's like, man, this guy is the same every single place. It doesn't matter. He's not fake. He's 100% real and he's 100% authentic. And that's what you get from him when he's on stage. You're like, hey, this guy's kind of crazy. He's not really a tame guy, right?
All right. You get guys. It's quite an endorsement, but I want to get to this because I don't want to go too terribly today. People are going to get their weekend started. I hope everybody has a great 4th. Let me just say this before we go too far. Greatest country in the world.
Yes.
I've traveled everywhere. I love Japan. I actually enjoyed myself in China when I went to China. I enjoy Europe. I've enjoyed Mexico, Canada. I've been all over, and I love the world. I always want to get back home. There is something special about the United States of America. It is worth preserving. That's why we're doing this. As I said, this is a lot of work. I love it now though. It's a lot of work, but I do love it. So it's a work now where I think, okay, now we have a voice. We're getting people to pay attention to what we have to say. I love Missouri so much. I just love the state. I traveled everywhere around this country. I worked in all 50 states, well, except for Alaska. I was supposed to go to Alaska. I didn't go. So 49 states. I worked in 49 states, got to know the people. People are wonderful everywhere. But there is something, at least for me, there's something very different about the state of Missouri. It is just a very well-connected state. I could never get done what I've been able to get accomplished in the state of Missouri in Florida. I couldn't have done that here. There's no way. When I said I was coming to Florida to start talking politics, do you think somebody would have taken me on? Do you think all the politicians would have started talking to me? I'm even ripping some of these politicians and they're still talking to me. I'm able to get interviews with Democrats, Republicans, independents. I'm able to talk to the media people. I'm to big corporate people. I've been able to talk to everybody in the state of Missouri because I know somebody who knows somebody. And if they don't let Robb in, they're like, wait, why are you not talking to Robb? Wait, are you hiding? This is what happens, right? So people start to talk to me. You can't do this in other places. Missouri is a very interesting spot on the map. And I want to use it to my advantage. I was born and raised in Missouri. I love this country, and I think Missouri can be the template for all the other states. We have to fix things in small bites. How do you eat an elephant, Isaiah? One bite at a time.
That's it.
You have to eat it one bite at a time. People want miracles nowadays because our attention spans are too short. But if you can get something done in Missouri, if you can make Missouri awesome again, right, because it can be, make Missouri awesome again, then all of a sudden Illinois goes, what's Missouri doing? Arkansas goes, what's Missouri doing? And not the politicians, because their politicians want the power, the leadership politicians, not guys like Mr. Burton there or some of the people that I like in the political arena. But the big money starts to go, wait a minute, people are paying attention to us. This is not working for the citizens. We're exploiting them all the time. They're sick of it. Missouri pushed back on them. Missouri now has a society where small businesses are growing. People are starting to get more spiritual. They're making their own food. They're cleaning up their skies. They're taking care of downtown St. Louis and Kansas City. Their schools are better because they don't have all the big outside money coming in and indoctrinating their children. You get it done here, it can become a template for other places. And Missouri is small enough where you can make those big moves. That's my opinion. And on 4th of July, we should remember greatest country on the planet. Don't squander it. Don't give up on it. Keep fighting. Don't say to yourself, there's nothing I can do. Every time I hear somebody say that, I just want to puke. Don't say that. You can do something. You just have to get together with the rest of us. There's organizations all over the state of Missouri. And Isaiah, remember when you weren't around when I started People's Lobby Missouri? I said, I want to take all of these conservative organizations, all of these libertarian organizations, and that can come from the right or the left. I meant conservative people, not the Republican Party, right? And let's start talking together. Let's start fixing some of these problems. And nobody really wanted to sign up with us, Isaiah. I'm like, well, I got the radio show. Anybody can do it, but I'm the one that's on the radio. I'm the one that's got the voice. If we need to get meetings together, and you got 100 people that are involved in yours, and you got 200 over here, when we have meetings, why don't we draw everybody together? Crickets, because everybody wants to do their own thing, which means we're all working separately, and we never get anything done. We got to organize. Get the ants in line, Isaiah. In line. GraceHauling.com.
Get them organized.
And I want you to get this ready as I do some advertising here.
We just had to show. I just got these in from a listener. The snowshoes you're selling in Alaska.
The snowshoes you were selling. Actually, buying comfort shoes by Earth when I was selling to them, and I almost went up there. I had tickets to go, and then I scratched it. And
that's the first thing I thought of when you said, "Oh, I almost went to Alaska too."
Wasn't expensive either. I think the flight from that I was going to take out to Alaska was like $400 or $500 back in those days. Wasn't even crazy expensive. And my daughter just spent 6 or 8 months in Alaska.
Now we're trying to go from St. Louis to DC, and it's $700.
I know, it's crazy. I got to figure that out. All right, Israel Explodes. Get number 3 ready, because you're talking about the reason I'm having trouble is the Israel thing with the churches. So I want to play Israel Exposed. By the way, this was something that was put onto social media. We're going to go through it. You're going to see some videos of the things that are going on in Israel. It is not for children. They stopped right before October 7th. So this is a lead up. This is showing what's going on in Gaza, so that you understand. And if you're behind what you're getting ready to see, then I don't know how we can be on the same page with one another. I don't buy into it. I don't like it. Okay. So before we get there, before we go to Israel Exposed, which it had 5.4 million views in 24 hours, as I understand it. I sent it to Isaiah. I have not seen it. Isaiah may have been looking through some of the clips. I have not seen it, but we're going to show the clips here in just a minute. It could be completely brutal. I don't know exactly what's going on there with these videos, but they've got a whole litany of videos, and they say this is what's actually going on there. And
it's only 18 plus only can watch it.
Okay, so if you're not 18 plus, don't watch it. All right, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com, GraceHauling.com. My good friend Gary Schneider, as he likes to say, if it weren't for the grace of God, I would not have such a thriving business. Listen, nice and easy. If you're in the St. Charles County area and you're not using GraceHauling.com for all rubbish or trash, you got to think GraceHauling.com. Great people, does a lot of things for the community. 2, 4, 6, and 8-yard dumpsters for any commercial business. And if you're a residential customer, anything that is trash, I'll say recyclables, even though we're talking about recyclables earlier, yard waste, bulk pickups. My mouth is getting dry from this medicine, and I hate it. Any kind of bulk pickup, always think GraceHauling.com. GraceHauling.com. One more time for the people in back. GraceHauling.com. Outstanding customer service, competitive pricing. It is always GraceHauling.com. 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 And then we got my man Rick Babbitts. We can do Rick Babbitts and Rack. So Rick is on Tuesday, so he'll be on this Tuesday at 11. If you're not checking out Rick Babbitts and you have money to protect, if you're nearing retirement, you should get his opinion on your money and your financial situation. He's a financial planning expert. He uses biblical principles with your money, and he's somewhat of a know-it-all, right, Isaiah? He's kind of a know-it-all. You give him a topic, and he's very well studied. He's read all the books.
Yes.
He's been around the financial system forever.
He'll have a map made out for it.
He'll have a map made out for you in 30 seconds. 314-671-0525. 314-671-0525. Again, I'm doing this for you, right? Whether you go with Rick or not, Rick gets plenty of business from the show. And I mean, I still think he does a show on Real Talk, if I'm not mistaken. We've blown up his profile because we believe in him. But that is your decision to make. What I say is get an opinion from Rick Babbitts. Get a second, get a third, get a fourth opinion. Doesn't matter. Just get his opinion, because he's going to give you a different perspective than all of the other financial advisors. As he says, Rob, I'm not a cookie cutter. I see things through a long history of studying the financial markets and how to make money. And you tell me what you want to get accomplished, and I'll tell you the best method to get there. Rick Babbitts, fiduciary, 314-671-0525, your caringadvisor.com. And then Rack Custom Coatings. This is a new advertiser for us, somebody who is trying to trying to expand his business. He's been around since 2001, locally owned and family operated since 2001. This is our new friend, Rich McQuay. Rich McQuay, as he likes to say, we install industrial strength, long lasting coatings built to handle anything your home or business can throw at them. And from garages to commercial spaces, RAK Custom Coatings delivers tough, beautiful finishes that last. His number 636-398-5040, or it's easier to remember, rackcustomcoatings.com. Again, this is flooring for your home. This is flooring for your garage. This is flooring for industrial space, hangars, schools, that type of thing. But he can put decorations in it. It's got to be way less expensive than doing something like tile. Looks just as good. It's incredibly durable. I did it for my garage and absolutely, positively loved the way my house looked. It just made a real impression on me. My buddy Ryan did it. I thought it was fantastic. That was probably 8-10 years ago. Loved it. RAKCustomCoatings.com, RAK Customcoatings.com. Our good friend, Rich McQuay. You can reach him at 636-398-5040. All right, Isaiah, let's take out this Israel Exposed. If you're under the age of 18, you should not be looking at this. But this is the reason I've fallen out of favor with some of the churches that are constantly telling me I have to support Israel in everything that they do. It rubs me wrong. I've been following the situation for quite some time, and I see it through a different lens.
They can do no wrong, Rob.
Do no wrong, and I just don't like that. I have to support Israel because I don't think if the Bible says you have to support Israel, could the Bible ever perceive of charlatans taking over or stealing the elections within Israel? And now I've got a charlatan that I have to support from now until the end of time. Would the Lord have ever anticipated that, Isaiah? I don't know. And I don't think he would have said that knowing that you could absolutely have charlatans steal an election in any particular country. And then they're taking me off course and I have to follow them because that's what my Jesus tells me. I don't know, Isaiah. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a lot of common sense. And if it doesn't make a lot of common sense, I'm out.
It sounds like you might be using it to your advantage.
Well, let's check it out. Let's check out what's going on. I haven't seen this. I'm anxious to see it myself. I did not see it. I purposely said I want to watch this in real time with Isaiah. So here it is. This is what it says. Israel Exposed. It took a little longer than expected, but we have created a website for people to view the footage collected in Gaza in one place. You no longer have to download the entire archives to see them. This includes 64,537 videos, 17,905 photos, the ability to download individual videos, searchable index, exhaustive sources, over 300 journalists, geolocation data, live map with minute-to-minute updates, and a victims list. This is archivegenocide.com. So this is what's going on inside the boundaries of Gaza. You tell me what you think. Give me any of them, Isaiah. Anything that you got picked out.
Yep.
Just the warning.
I'm
assuming you can do this, Isaiah. Am I getting any political problems here? I mean, legal problems? I don't think so. Am I?
No. It's just that we have to do that for the platforms.
Okay.
Yeah. We have to tell people that, and then later we'll have to go and just mark that there's certain footage in here, so then it doesn't show it to people who are under 18 on the platforms. And things like that. So
if you're under the age of 18, you're not supposed to be watching this, but this is what Gaza looks like.
So this is the most recent. So the most recent video is from September 22nd, 2025.
يا ربي يابا يا حبيبتي يابا يا ربي يا ربي يابا يابا كل أهلنا المستضعفين في غزة اللهم ارحم أنينهم اللهم لف نداءهم اللهم صن
صباح جديد من داخل مستشفى الشفاء. أكثر من 24 شهيد موجود الآن في ساحة مستشفى الشفاء. 18 شهيد من عائلة دغمش و6 شهداء من عائلة الحداد. هذه المجازر
There's some little description over here if you can't, since
What's that say? Because I can't read
says,
it.
yeah, no worries. I just wanted to point it out. It says more than 24 martyrs from 2 massacres carried out by the occupation against the Dogmish and Haddad families, and there are still people missing under the rubble. Yeah, and then
You
there's
believe any of that's propaganda, Isaiah? Have you looked through this a little bit?
yeah. I mean, some of it,
Anything that looks-
some of it probably like this one. This one looked like propaganda to me, right?
I imagine there's propaganda mixed in there.
Yeah. But I mean, you see some of them are just going to be undeniable. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, this is
صباح
undeniable.
جديد من داخل مستشفى الشفاء أكثر من 24 شهيد موجود الآن في
He's standing there in front of the body bags, right? He's just reporting on it.
Yep.
And I mean, I guess they could have put stuff in all those body bags. That seems like a lot of work, though. And it's like 20 body bags. Seems like a lot of work just to.
They show any of the bombing? Did you look through there to see, like, if you're like standing
didn't
there,
see.
bombs
Let's see.
going off or anything?
Let's see.
Kind of what I was expecting to see.
Yeah, it's mostly
Individuals?
individuals in the hospitals.
Which
and
we
then-
had a lady on. Were you on? Was that?
Oh, it's after the bombing. Yeah.
Were you on when we had that lady that was a doctor? It was she went over there to work in the hospitals in Gaza.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, I had a woman on that was a American doctor who went over there, and she described exactly we had a green beret on, and he described what he saw over there, and the doctor who was completely unaffiliated with him said the same thing. You know, there's no water, there's no they don't even know how to eat anymore. They're basically treated like dogs. And he said they drop in food, and as they're dropping in food, and all these people start to scramble to get the food because they're starving to death, he said the Israeli soldiers would start shooting at them. That doesn't mean,
wow,
you know, and I didn't bring this to his attention when he was telling me the story, but that doesn't mean that's coming from the leadership, right?
Yeah.
Like, leadership may not, but the Israeli soldiers may be acting alone because they know they can get away with it, what have you. But they were saying, both of them said that, you know, they had kids coming in with gunshot wounds to the head all of the time from IDF soldiers. And we're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. And then the argument is, well, they could be working for Hamas. They might have bombs and this and that and the other. I don't know. It seems like a crazy situation. Either way it goes, the devastation that's going on in Gaza is something I can't get behind. And especially Lebanon, even more so in Lebanon, where my Christian brothers and sisters are getting bombed into submission over there. Did you see almost like a nuclear bomb went off in Lebanon the other day? You know,
This is one I did find. I've been looking while you're there. It's a 3-second clip, so it's very quick. We can watch it, but I'll point it out before I start it. You see that ambulance right there?
Yep.
So this is from August 2025. This is not recent, so I don't want to mislead people thinking this is something new. This is an old video, but this is a bombing that happened, they're saying, on this ambulance right there. These are all civilians, right?
Golly.
Yeah, just
Can
like
you
that.
imagine living in that environment?
Just like that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that Hamas isn't any better, but
Oh, I'm not
point
saying
is
that either.
but the point is that Israel's
Israel's gone a little bit over the top, in my opinion. Jake says Robbie should have Naveen on. I'm communicating with her, Jake, to have her on soon. I think she's going to come on maybe in middle of July. Naveen is coming on, so we'll have her on as well. She was the Republicans went after her hardcore. Tim Jones spoke out against her. I don't know anything about. She seems lovely to me. When I talk to her, she seems very kind. But she said some very nasty things about Jews back in the day. I think she's backed off of that a little bit. But they used it to pass these BDS. These are the anti-boycott laws that are in Missouri now. I think she was the poster child for the beginning of that boycotting of all things. You had to sign an affidavit not to boycott Israel, I guess I should say. And I think she was involved in that. So I'm going to get her on the show. She's aligned or talks to Cori Bush, Isaiah.
Wow.
I think I'm going to get Cori Bush on the show.
ESA, baby.
I'd like to get Cori Bush on the show, not because I align with her politically at all, but Cori Bush was the one that was taken out by AIPAC.
Yeah.
And she said, when she lost, she was giving a speech. I used to play it on the radio show all the time. She said, AIPAC, I'm going to take your kingdom down. I used to play that clip on the radio show all the time. Let me be clear, she said. AIPAC, I'm going to take your kingdom down. I want to understand from her point of view, and you guys can judge for yourself, how AIPAC played into this thing, because I think they gave Wesley Bell, who replaced her. I think they gave him millions and millions of dollars to get her out of there because she was
Oh,
not
yeah.
playing the game. Good or bad, that's what happened. I want to get her opinion on AIPAC because again, I'm of the opinion that AIPAC's not doing anything wrong. It is our laws that allow them to do it. I got to worry about my politicians and my laws, not necessarily any particular money source that is persuading politics, because that's what people do. They use their money to persuade politics. Anyway,
how they get around it is they say it's American citizens
Right.
who are lobbying the government because it's not Israeli citizens doing it. It's American citizens. That's how they get around FARA, not have to register. And so I'm just curious to see if there's any other group that's going to start some of these organizations, right? Could we get I don't know, an American Armenian lobbying group or something? You know what I mean?
They don't lobby. They're not as successful as AIPAC. I think the AIPAC lobby is incredibly powerful. And you can see it. We were walking the
I would be
halls.
curious to now you got me thinking. I want to go down a rabbit trail to see if there are any other lobby groups.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
I'm sure there are, but they're not to this.
Anyway, those politicians can make a dime for their PACs. They're gonna give you if we come in there with a couple $100,000 because we want to tell the story, they'll be talking to us real quick.
All right,
let's do
$9.3 million to get Cory Bush out.
There you go. $9.3 million spent by AIPAC to get Cory Bush out for Wesley Bell. Wow. All right. Clip number 12. This is John Kennedy. This is your wife likes John Kennedy.
I know.
Right. I want to point something out that he said because Theo Von didn't. Sometimes when you're interviewing people, you're thinking about the next question, so you're not. You know what I mean. Your follow-ups aren't as good because you're thinking of the next question. But John Kennedy was on with Theo Von. This is Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, who I said he's from Oxford. He fits all of the it's a big club guy. Find that one.
Oh yeah.
Fast.
Oh yeah.
Let me see here.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
So when I see John Kennedy, I think of him as a big club member. I'm not 100% positive with John Kennedy. Okay, let me say that first. There are people that I'm positive. He's one of them that I'm not. But when I hear him talk, he seems like a club member. He was talking about climate change one time. I remember I was a big John Kennedy fan because I, like your wife, thought he was very funny and he had a great way of communication. Yeah. And then I watched him. He was on C-SPAN. I was running through C-SPAN one time, and he was talking about global climate change, right? And he basically nodded his head that global climate change was real, but that the methods we were using to stop it were not good. And I went, come on, dude. Come on. Why are we falling into this obvious con job, in my opinion? And he exacerbates it. And many people on the right were doing the exact same thing. I believe global climate change is a global climate scam. I think most people are starting to recognize that now. They might be spraying the skies and changing it, but the Earth's been here for a long time. We're not going under anytime soon, unless there's a big volcano or something we don't understand. It's certainly not going to be because of the sun.
The ozone layer?
Oh, it's utter and complete nonsense, in my opinion. And he was exacerbating that story. And I thought, what is going on here? So I started paying a little bit closer attention to him. And here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, just for background, Donald Trump becomes the president of the United States. And as somebody who was following his campaign from the beginning, he said, we're going to drain the swamp. In your mind, what is the swamp? You're going to say the bureaucracy, but could you throw the intelligence agencies in there as well? Didn't Donald Trump have a problem with the CIA? Didn't he have a problem with the FBI back in the day? Yes, he did. All right. So if you're saying drain the swamp, you got to start with the intelligence agencies and get a handle on our intelligence agencies. Listen to what John Kennedy has to say, and then ask yourself, if you're John Kennedy and you're in DC for that long and you have an understanding of what the swamp is, would you take intelligence information at face value, or would you push back on it? Here's the way he answered Theo Von in relation to Israel. Check this out.
Intelligence. Here's what our intelligence showed, and I've seen it.
And I've seen it.
Classified, but I've seen it. Mm-hmm. But I can give you a general outline. Our intelligence showed that Iran was building up its missile capacity, both ballistic and cruise, and they were going to compile so many missiles and drones that they were going to turn to America and Israel and say, we're restarting our nuclear weapons program. And if you try to stop us, we're going to destroy the rest of the Middle East. And by the way, our missiles can now reach London and Paris, and Germany.
And
and Berlin.
you saw reports that
I've
said
seen
that?
the intelligence.
Okay.
And President Trump was
Wow.
faced, well, do I let them continue? He had already bombed some of their nuclear facilities. But he was faced with the decision, do I let them get to the point where they have so many missiles and drones, ballistic and cruise, that they could destroy the Middle East, that they could hit London, that they might even be able to hit the United States, or do I go in to stop them? And he did.
See, I just think that is complete.
They might be able to hit the United States.
Elite bullpucky. All right.
Yeah.
I'll say that word because I've been cursing too much lately. That to me is utter BS. Let me explain to you why, okay? The Constitution says you can't go to war unless Congress approves. Why does it say that? It says because you must have the authority of the American people before you wage war against a foreign country. And Congress, the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C., is the closest representative of the people. Therefore, if somebody wants to go to war, I got to go through Eric Burleson. I got to go through Ann Wagner. I got to go through Bob Onder. I got to go through Jason Smith. I have to go through these people because they have to come home and talk to me. And if they're voting for war and the people in his district or those districts don't want it, then you can't send people off to war. It has to be approved by the people. When one person, Donald Trump, can initiate war, you have a dictatorship, you have tyranny. And the founding fathers understood that. That's why they gave the powers of war to Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It doesn't matter whether Dimwit over there from Oxford thinks that it's a good deal because he thinks it's good policy. The Constitution prohibits him from doing that. And Republicans need to get on it. Republicans need to get on it lickety split. You don't get to determine when and where you want to use the Constitution. The Constitution is there to keep you guys from using extreme power without the consent of the American people. And it is a fact. It's not a doubt. I shouldn't be arguing with people. The Constitution clearly says that the war powers come from Congress. Now, the judges and everything can start to unwind that and blow it up and do whatever they want to do. But the reality is the intent of the original Constitution is that the people must determine whether they want to go to war or not. If you have somebody in the military and the president goes, you know what, we got to go to war with Iran. Our intelligence says they've got nuclear bombs. I mean, we may not have, they may have nuclear bombs, they may not, but we're going to propagandize you legally through the Smith Modernization Act. Now we're going to tell you we're going to bomb civilizations that we know nothing about because they want to bomb us first, and they can't bomb us first. We got to bomb them first. So we're going to drop bombs on top of their women and children. We're going to knock out all their facilities. We're going to make sure that they can't eat. We're going to do that because I, Donald Trump, am getting information from the intelligence agencies which lie to me all the time, which is what I said when I said drain the swamp. But I'm going to listen to them this time because my buddy Israel is in bed with me. Therefore, we're going to start bombing a foreign nation unconstitutionally.
You know, the best part about this whole specific situation is that if we go to our great Israel commentator, Mark Levin. He said, we don't need Congress as approval to go to war. We can go to war. He can do whatever he wants. And then he tries to stop the war. And he goes, you need Congress approval before you can stop this war. It's like, so he doesn't need approval to start the war, is what you said. Now he's trying to stop the war.
Yes.
Now he needs congressional approval. Okay, get it. Now
One more like and share today. One more like and share. Can we put the like and share up there, Isaiah? Because we got about
oh my gosh, 11:57.
I want to run can we run a little late today? Because
Yeah,
there are some things I want to get out before the 4th.
Let's do it.
Okay. So give me a like and share if you don't mind, everybody. I really appreciate it when you guys do that. We are getting closer and closer to having things the way we want them to be. We got to get can I just list real quickly the things we still got to get accomplished?
yeah.
We need a set studio in Missouri so we can have live 2 shots, 3 camera shots where we do live interviews. I think those will be fantastic. I like to give interviews because I think I can get down to the bottom line when I want to. So we need a studio in Missouri for live interviews. We're now starting to get everything cut up so that we can get out the clips in the manner that we want to and in the spaces that we want to. We have got to get pre-roll together, right? So what I ultimately want is when you go on to the RobbCarterShow.com, I think for me personally, Isaiah, I listen to most podcasts. I don't watch them, right? So I'm usually listening to a podcast. So I would want to listen to me versus watch me. So if I go on to the robcartershow.com, it turns into a radio show. You just hit the listen button and you get the radio show. But the problem is you got 10 minutes of the music before we can listen to the show. So if we get pre-roll in there, at least you'll have something to listen to, and we'll keep that refreshed ever so often so you can listen to it. But then it turns into a radio show. And if you just want to carry your phone and listen to it as though it's radio, you'll be able to do that. Because I'm coming from radio. I'm not coming from television, despite the fact that podcasting is now video format. But I think those are big improvements to the show. As I said before, we're going to get out to Washington, D.C. and get interviews for you. We're going to become important to decision-making for both Missourians and people around the country, because we're going to show you what independent journalism looks like and what proper questions and a proper line of questioning looks like. Fair enough? 2 more advertisers, then I want to get through just some things. Isaiah, if you want to write these down, I'm going to go through these clips very quickly before July 4th. It is 4, 6, 7, 13, 15, and maybe even 18. I'm going to get through as many of those as I can. We'll do rapid fire, though, Isaiah. I promise. I won't be talking through a bunch of them.
I got maybe 15 minutes.
Okay, I'm just going to make a point, and we'll go through it very quickly. But first, we got to remind everybody of Dr. Helen Gelhart. I think she's got somebody coming on with me again. She gives me the greatest guest, by the way. She's fantastic. Dr. Helen Gelhart, if you've not listened to the show before, or you have, I got to implore you, if you know somebody in your family that has Alzheimer's or dementia, you've got to get a hold of Dr. Helen Gelhart. Within her office, she has procedures and treatments to reverse the symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia. Again, anybody in your family that has it, friends that have it, when the mind starts to slip, it doesn't usually recover unless there's some form of treatment. She has those treatments. She's a very spiritual person, and she got out of the hospital administration because she wanted to give people the proper care. This is the kind of person we want on our show. AdvancedWellnessMed.com. She also has the earliest cancer detection blood test available, the best blood test on the market. So if you want to get a hold of, want to find out whether you are might have cancer in your system, or you want to cut it off at the pass, you got to get the cancer early or you're in trouble. The earliest cancer detection blood test available. And she also does pre-screenings for strokes and heart attacks. Anything that kills you, she specializes in. AdvancedWellnessMed.com. Dr. Helen Gelhart, 314-576-0094. Dr. Helen Gelhart, AdvancedWellnessMed.com, 314-576-0094. And before we leave you, Isaiah, when it's time for lunch, it's always time for Moe's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Moe's Pizza. God owns the place. He just works there. If you've not been out to Moe's Pizza, why not? If you're in the Washington or in the Franklin County area, you got to get out and you got to get to Moe's Pizza. I think it's about $13 for all the pizza and salad you can eat. There it is right there. Pizza, salad, chicken wings, sandwiches, and ice cream. Those are my favorites, but they got breadsticks for you as well. As Isaiah tells me yesterday, those are fantastic. You got to get out and support our good friend Mike and Brenda Johns out at Moe's Pizza. Any kind of banquets you have going on, you've got the pictures there on your screen. Birthday parties, anniversaries, political meetings, or Bible studies, anything with a gathering, they'll provide the space for you, and they'll treat you like family. If you're in the area, great family environment, great people, big, proud supporters of our particular show. They've been with us for a long time, and we love them. Moe's Pizza. God owns the place. He just works there. When it's time for lunch and you're in the area, Moe's Pizza. Get there. Okay.
Get yourself the Robb Carter.
Get yourself the Robb bacon and mushroom. I had one here in Florida. I had a bacon and mushroom pizza the other day. Man, it's good. I don't know what. I just think that's the best combination for pizza. I apologize. Bacon. I think everybody knows that,
yeah,
right?
it's like bacon and pineapple people, right?
No, that's the Canadian ham and pineapple, right? Not bacon.
Oh, you never had bacon and pineapple?
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My kid eats pineapple and jalapeno peppers.
Oh, yeah. Bacon and pineapple. It's a big one. Canadian bacon, too, is a big one. But
I thought it was more Canadian bacon, but what do I know?
Yeah. Regular bacon, too. So,
all right, let's run this, because you're only giving me 15 minutes. Where are you so important? What do you got going on today?
We gotta go we just have to be somewhere by 1 o'clock in Washington.
All right.
Yeah, that's I gotta get 2 kids dressed, changed, ready to go, and in the truck, ready to rock and roll.
You know I love messing with you. I'm teasing.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start.
You know exactly what it's like to have children.
I do. I remember the whole thing.
At this age, it's different. I understand it's a little bit different when they're older.
And yours are very cute, by the way. Your daughter's going to be a star one of these days. All right,
cute.
number 4. Number 4 is flock cameras. I want people to see what flock cameras are capable of. So this guy goes out and he does He does a report on flock cameras, and what he's showing you is the flock cameras are not just reading your license plates; they're following you. If you're walking around, the flock cameras will pick up the movement, and they will follow you. Stop putting. I got to block him. We got to figure out. Check out number 4. Now, this is in coordination. I laid this out. I said, institutional corruption is something we have to address. In the 250th year of this great nation, the freest and most prosperous nation the world has ever known, we have to take care of it. You've got it. It's somewhere in your mind, or maybe you get down on your knees and pray. You got to get involved. That's why I say it's nice when people sign up for People's Lobby of Missouri, because I know you're involved in the game with us. peopleslobbymo.com. These are the things we have to fix. Here's flock safety cameras. I know Jake Jackson, this is his big issue right now, but flock safety cameras. Check this little, just an independent journalist citizen going out and showing what flock safety cameras are doing in his neighborhood. Check this out.
All right, these flock cameras, they're not tracking just cars. So I found some tag readers at the old police department I worked at that are apparently tracking pedestrians as you walk. Let's go check this out. It's crazy. So in this park right here, there's a flock camera up there pumping out IR. And then there's another one over here within like, I don't know, 150 feet of each other. There's one there and one there. They're not tracking just cars. I'm gonna show you. See how it's starting to flash right there when I'm walking towards it? They're taking pictures of faces because there's not a car in sight. And if I'm not moving, watch what it does. Watch what it does when I'm not moving. So watch what happens when I start. Oh, there it goes. I started moving. It's tracking. So there's no car in sight. There's nothing in sight.
That's good, Isaiah.
And the reason why I'm saying that is if you look.
I was enamored.
So this is facial recognition technology, which is alive and well. So you're going to put flock safety cameras up. It's going to have facial recognition, license plate readers. Your cars are going to have cameras in it, so it can monitor everything you do and say within your car. So they're tracking your license plates, their video, and recording everything that goes on inside your car. They have a kill switch that can turn off your car starting in 2027. They have warrantless searches, 702 warrantless FISA searches, so that the United States government can spy on American citizens. You have the flock cameras. You have the AI data centers going up. You have it's on and on and on and on. It is 1984. If we choose to stop it, we can, but you better get with it relatively quick. You got the digital currency coming in. You can see all the different data points starting to surround the American citizen. We're going to have a digital prison for the next generation, unless guys like Isaiah and I and everybody listening today decide they want to get in the middle of it. I think it's happening, and I think it's happening quick. Jake is my man. Jake is fighting back against it, but we got to stop it. Got to stop this nonsense from happening. Let's go to the SAVE Act. I've been saying a long time, the SAVE Act, and I explain it like this every time so people can get it through their minds the way I see it. If somebody steals $100 from me and then offers to give me $20 back, do I cheer on the $20 back, or do I go, hey man, you effed me out of $80? I want my $80, but I want the whole thing back. When you steal elections in multiple different ways and then say to the American people, but we're going to give you this one method that we used to steal and we're going to take that back, that's not fixing elections. And that's what the SAVE Act does. It's not that the SAVE Act isn't necessary. It is one little bitty piece of the puzzle in the big scheme of things of how they steal elections. So what are they going to do? They're going to get the SAVE Act passed. Somewhere along the way, they're going to get the SAVE Act passed. But here is Tim Burchett from Tennessee telling you what he thinks the plan is surrounding the SAVE Act, and I completely agree with him. That's why I'm playing it. Tim Burchett from Tennessee. Check it out.
Hey, everybody. Tim Burchett. People are asking me about what's going on with the Save America Act. Well, the Senate, of course, is dragging their feet. The House has passed it twice. I've got a sneaking suspicion that they'll probably attempt to pass it or pass it so late in the dadgum game that it can't get implemented. And then they can go home and say, oh, look, we passed it, and everybody will be celebrating, patting them on the back. And then it just cannot get implemented at the state and local level in time for it to have any effect in these elections.
That's good.
And
so let's pay attention to see if that happens, Isaiah. That's fair, right? We just pay attention to see if that happens. He's been saying that for a long time. I agree that seems to be the method. There is no justification for not requiring that you prove that you're an American citizen to vote. I don't know where Burton is on that. We'll have him in there, but I don't know what the Democrats are talking about. But when you allow 30, 40, 50 million people into your country and then you don't ask to verify that you're an American citizen before you vote in our elections, that's treasonous. It's treasonous. That is your job in the government to make sure that people that vote in our system are American citizens, because if you allow people from outside of our country to sway our votes, then we don't have a country. All right. Nice and simple. Stay back. We'll see how it plays out. Communism is the game, Isaiah. I'm sure Mr. Burton would agree. I think he's would agree with us on this. What the
communism or common sense? That's what they're saying on Fox News. Which one do you want?
Here they go. They're going to sell. Did we not talk about this day one, Isaiah?
I know. I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this on Fox News right now when we're.
I told you that was going to be the next boogeyman. Did I not? I said what they're going to do is they're going to say, we're doing terrible. Inflation is through the roof. Gas prices are through the roof. Young people are freaked out. They're drowning in student debt. The society is hanging on by a thread right now, and people are not feeling secure about their futures. So what are they going to do? They're going to say, okay, well, we had 3 socialists win their elections in New York City. Therefore, communism is on the rise. You got to vote for the Republicans because the communists are coming. The communists are coming. Here come the communists. Ron Paul, this is the Ron Paul show. He said communism will be the new boogeyman, despite the fact that communism, as we understand it, has been abolished from the earth pretty much already. It's just that nobody even knows what communism really is. So when a socialist wins up in New York City, they go, communism, here comes communism, because communism ratchets up the fear. And that is going to be the game that the Trump administration and the Republicans sell to you. Isaiah?
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
Here is a guy that works with Ron Paul explaining it maybe a little bit more eloquently than me. Clip number 7.
Interesting, as you say. I mean, I've been reading a lot about this, but it's almost quaint. Maybe it's an anachronism, but that Trump is coming out now denouncing communism. It does seem anachronistic because, basically the idea of communism was probably dead, in the 50s, late 50s. Certainly by the 70s, it was clear that it was not a system that could be sustained. And then, of course, by the 80s, it became a shell of its former self. And I don't see anyone in the U.S. erecting statues of Lenin or Trotsky, so it's an odd thing. Put this up. It seems like a straw man argument or a search for a new bogeyman. But here's what he said. Communism is the greatest threat to our country since World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or 9/11. President Donald J. Trump. And he expanded on that when he gave a talk at the opening of the Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Museum. You might want to put your earpiece in. Let's listen to that first video.
As we're seeing now, communism is the greatest threat to our country, including, I believe this. When I said it, I said, boy, that's pretty severe, but I think it's true. It's the biggest threat to our country, including World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, September 11th. I think it's a bigger threat, potentially a bigger threat than that. Because it's like a cancer that spreads, and you better stop it fast. We will never let the United States become a communist country.
That's good, Isaiah. Here comes the boogeyman. You got to have something.
Where is communism spreading?
Never let it happen.
All great dictators have to have a boogeyman, Isaiah. Just remember that. I know my Trump fans are out there going, Rob, what are you talking about? I'm just saying communism is not a threat in this country.
Patriot or terrorist.
The only way a communist could be a threat in this country is if we really scrap the Constitution, because the Constitution doesn't allow for communism. So long as politicians follow the Constitution, you don't have to worry about it. So we just follow the Constitution. Here's Michael Burton. I agree with Michael. Check this out. He says, never in a million years did I ever imagine I'd be called a communist, but that's the line these days by many in the MAGA movement. Michael, I'm with you. My MAGA friends have went off they're following Donald Trump to whatever thing he puts out there. They're just following it. And I say, fine, but question it. I'm not on one side of the fence or the other with Donald Trump, but I recognize from day one, as soon as they brought it out there, when those people won in New York, did I not come out and say this is going to be their new talk?
What we talk about.
You're going to fight the dirty, the communists. Now let's go to what Jesse Ventura had to say about communism, because when you think communism, you think Russia, right, Isaiah? Communism is Russia. Communism is
USSR,
Russia.
Baby.
USSR, that's Russia. Communism, Vladimir Putin, Russia, 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 Russia. Let's hear what Jesse Ventura, former wrestler and governor of Minnesota, let's listen to what he had to say about Vladimir Putin and what life is like working underneath Vladimir Putin, because he does a radio show or a talk show or some kind of show, I think on RT. Here's what Vladimir Putin said to him. And did he follow through on what he said to him about free speech? Because free speech in America, where we don't have it, we don't have freedom of reach. I don't even think we have freedom of speech in many of our areas. But nonetheless, this is what Jesse Ventura's conversation with Vladimir Putin went. This is what happened in their conversation as he began to develop a show sponsored by Russia. Check this out.
Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, walked over to me. I didn't walk over to him. He offered his hand. I shook his hand. Putin looked at me and said, "Thank you, Governor." And I said, "You're welcome, Mr. President." And then he said, "I want you to know I will never interfere in your television show. You have complete control and complete artistic freedom." And I said, "Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate that." And guess what? I've been there 4 years now, and he's been a man of his word. He has never interfered in my show. Nobody tells me what I can say or can't say. They don't tell me what I can or can't talk about. Now, isn't it strange? I'm banned from TV in America, and that's because of my court case. They all came into my court case to have it overturned. 2 judges at the Court of Appeals broke 2 of their own rules and sided with the media and overturned my case, breaking their rules to do it.
There you go. There you go. That's
It's
the
like
reality.
Edward Snowden,
Edward
traitor
Snowden.
in America.
Edward Snowden, who told the American people that they were being spied on by the NSA, had to escape through China and then on to Russia to escape America. And here we are with the former governor of Minnesota and a well-known personality in America doing work for RT. I assume it's RT in Russia. And the communist nation of Russia told him, "You can say whatever you want. You're free. We're not going to bother you whatsoever." That's an American citizen talking to a Russian and international audience where the president of a communist country supposedly told him he's free to say whatever he wants. But in this country, if you speak out against Israel, they're coming for you.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go.
They're knocking on your door, asking you questions.
You got to tell me what's going on here with Owen Schroyer, and then we'll shut it down.
Oh,
right?
boy.
So Owen Schroyer is, I like Owen Schroyer. He's a Missouri kid. He was, I got a little frustrated with him because he was not recognizing, in my opinion, what was going down there for a little bit. And I started to go, come on, Owen, you're a little bit too much rah-rah on the Donald Trump train. There's a lot of indications here that we need to pay attention and maybe start asking some questions. He rode that train just a little bit too long. But when he jumped off the train, Isaiah, he jumped off further and farther than I did. I mean, he went totally scorched earth on Donald Trump and has been for quite some time. And now he's making his bones fighting the new MAGA. The old MAGA wanted the old MAGA issues resolved. Those didn't get resolved. And now the new MAGA is Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and
Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham is now a part of the new crowd. And it doesn't make any sense to me. Check this out. This is Owen Schroyer talking about MAGA.
So once again, we see the new MAGA coalition, which consists of Conservative Inc., neocons, and foreign loyalists, complaining that socialists and foreigners are winning elections in the United States of America. Well, guys, you have no one to blame but yourselves. This is literally all your fault. All you had to do was stop prioritizing foreign and special interests, but you couldn't do it. All you had to do was keep us out of another war in the Middle East, but you just couldn't do it. So you did that, and now Democrats are winning elections. And now it's socialists, and now it's foreigners. You guys did that. And we warned you this exact thing would happen, and you bitched and complained and said you didn't need us and called us names. Well, now here you are. You realize you've screwed the pooch, and your argument is, well, vote for Republicans. At least we're not Democrats. Vote for Republicans. They're not liberals. They're not progressives. That doesn't work. That's not selling anybody. And even if you could convince people like me in the media for this cause, it wouldn't change anything. It's already over. The perception is the Republican Party will always prioritize foreign and special interests and war, and then ask you to vote for them again after they campaigned on stopping the prioritization of foreign wars and special interests. So here we go, guys. Get ready. Congratulations to the new MAGA coalition, Con Inc., neocons, and foreign loyalists. Yes, you guys are about to hand the country over to Democrats and socialists because you just couldn't help yourselves. Could you? You just couldn't help yourselves, and you thought, oh, well, we'll just sell them that we're not Democrats ahead of the elections, and it's not going to work. So good job, guys. Hey, I hope you get everything you want. I hope you get a forever war in the Middle East. I hope that all of the foreign interests and special interests are taken care of, and then when socialists and foreigners take over the country, you're going to sit there and bitch and complain, but I hope you at least take ownership for what you've done. I hope you at least recognize what you've done, but the problem is you never learn. That's the problem. You never learn, and so we'll continue to do this crap because you guys never learn. Or maybe you're just sellouts.
What's going on with Owen's look, first of all?
Oh yeah, so
That
you haven't seen this?
That has to be some kind of nonsense going on.
You haven't seen this online? Everyone's like, we stand with Owen, because everyone was like, what's going on with Owen?
Something ain't right with that. I think that's got to be AI. I got to address a couple things here. So Pretty Patriot says
it is not AI, Rob. Just so you know,
got to be AI. I still say
not.
Owen cannot look like that.
Don't let yourself look that.
He's a very handsome man. I can't see him looking like that. Pretty Patriot says, LOL, Russia isn't a communist country, Rob. I didn't say it was. I said that is the impression. I said most people think Russia is a communist nation. I'm not saying I don't even know what kind of political structure they have over there. But I'm saying when you think of Russia, you think of communism, right? That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'm with you, Pretty Patriot. I'm not saying they are.
It was a communist country.
Yeah. Yeah. Just the impression that people have is all I was trying to get at.
Because it was a communist country, that's why people still think it's a communist country.
Correct.
Yeah.
Debbie Hardknock says, do you think with everything you and some others are talking about, the people will stay home during the midterm voting? I do. I think it's going to be, but I don't know that the voting matters. That's my biggest problem, Debbie, is I'm not sure that the voting matters. I'm most skeptical of the election system in general. And I think if Dr. Shiva is right, if Clint Curtis is right, if Patrick Byrne is right, if Donald Trump is right, if Tulsi Gabbard is right, if Dr. Frank is right, if I don't know if I mentioned Clint Curtis, I don't know if any of these people are right, then they are manipulating and nobody really knows it. You can't even get mad at the politicians, but you'd like to see the politicians make a change to it. But if they're right, the election system is being manipulated through mail-in balloting, voter rolls, and electronic tabulators and voting machines. And it's that combination that is allowing our power structure to steal elections, not Democrats or Republicans. That's the canard, right? That's where you get stuck. You go, no, the Republicans wouldn't do it. No, the Democrats wouldn't do it. The Republicans say the elections are stolen. Therefore, the Democrats have to say they're not. And when the Democrats say the elections are stolen, then the Republicans say that they're not. It's a beautiful system we have set up. But what I say is just make the election so that an eighth grader can understand them. Nice and simple. And count the paper ballots one day on a national holiday, video surveillance of people going in and out so the numbers are correct. And all of a sudden you could have an election system. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure it out. It just takes some political will to make sure the citizens push the government to get it done.
Yes.
Fair enough, Isaiah. What happened to Owen? That's what I was thinking. I still say it's AI. He's going to come back on his show and it's not going to be him. It can't be.
No, he's already put out multiple videos like that, Rob.
He looks very strange, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what Alex Jones was talking about. He's like, oh man, he looks so weird without his beard. Look at him with his mustache.
I like Owen. I think he's really talented.
He was talking, but he said he's like, I like Owen. He put this wig on though, and he's wearing it. It was so funny.
How about this one? It looks like Kathy Griffin. My wife even said, she goes, what's he doing? I said, I don't know, because he has the beard normally.
Yeah, he shaved his beard.
He's really strong. He's a muscular guy. He likes to he'll do videos every now and then.
You don't realize what people's chins look like when you got such especially like a defined beard. His was groomed to where it was like it's like, like Michael Burton in the chat, right? It's like if we saw Michael Burton,
he's got a big beard.
He's got a big beard. He probably looked like a weird person to us, right?
Yes. Last one of the day. This is from, who do we got here? No. DeWitnett. What is that one, Isaiah?
Not doing it.
Not doing it. There we go. Not doing it. Okay. Do people even know what a black box is? Hint, you don't know how it works, but you trust the output. He's talking about the electronic voting machines. I agree. I agree. I say if you don't understand it, you shouldn't use them, right? If I can't understand how the electronic tabulators work, if I can't explain it to you, then I don't need it in my system. That's my take on it. Happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. Go out and have a great weekend. Spend some time with your family, maybe decompress for just a little bit. Enjoy the freedoms that we still have left. Fight for the future. Fight for your family, fight for your kids, fight for your grandkids. It's a different world we're moving into. It's moving very fast. Don't get discouraged. Don't say there's nothing you can do, because there is. Join People's Lobby Missouri as fast as you possibly can. You don't have to donate if you don't have the money, but join what we're doing. We will join together. You're going to have a great time doing it. We're fun. We do politics in a fun manner. We get after it, but we like to have a good time as we're doing it. Join just go to it, peopleslobbymo.com. Sign up. We'll see you on the trail, and we'll get this state figured out first, and then we'll get the country figured out second, and we're going to live great lives. We're going to all be a part of it. We're going to feel good about things at the end of the day. Thank you, Donna J. Appreciate it very much. He says, I'm going to do a monthly donation. Thank you very much. Isaiah?
Last thing is that I just saw Rotten Mama mention this, seeing that the SAVE Act is what she's talking about being attached to the NDAA. I did see that the House voted it down, though. So, don't know. They voted against attaching the SAVE Act to the National Defense Authorization Act. And so, yeah, that's they voted it down. And so now it's going to be something separate. But I think that's how they were trying to get it through quickly.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Michael Burton, last thing, Michael, and I want to have you on the show, my friend. I really appreciate you listening. I know it's hard to listen to libertarians and conservatives for 3 hours, but I appreciate you paying attention to what we have to say. So there's Michael Burton. He is a legislator in Jefferson City for the Democrat side. He said, happy 4th of July. Let's take a day and celebrate this incredible nation. We'll join you on that venture. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the Rob Carter Show. Enjoy the weekend. Go Cardinals versus Cubs today, by the way. And that starts at 3:05 Central Daylight Time. I'll be on it.
All right. Enjoy the fireworks, everyone.